Looks like Rosa's still connecting here. Rosa, are you there?
She's muted.
I'm here, sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't realize.
Okay, I think we've got everybody here. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, and we'll do, Lauren, remind me, do you do a roll call of everyone on the meeting? How do I just say everybody's name and they say present?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start with board members. Rocky Busnitz,
Rocky, present.
Rosa Cavazos,
Was it here?
Eric Deecher,
Here.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, present.
Lauren Tice Miller,
Lauren here.
Erica Price here, Jason Scholes,
Present.
Tiffany Kinch,
Here.
Matt Hirsch,
Here.
Jennifer Hill,
Here.
Stacy Bell,
Here.
we got Renee, Nathan Hofstra,
Here.
Sarah Hoyer,
Here.
Scott Dial,
Here.
Stacy Giebler,
Here.
Tim York,
He's getting
Here.
money.
Ed West,
Here.
There he is.
Rebecca Hummer,
Here.
Blair Anderson,
Here.
Katie Bivens,
Here.
Kristen Bervert.
Here.
We have Kristen O'Brien,
Here.
and Lyle Reynoso.
Here. Sorry.
You're okay, sorry. Okay, we'll move on to approval of the, we're gonna approve the agenda, the minutes of the January 19th, the January 20th, the January 21st, the January 25th, and the January 28th meeting. Do I have a motion for approval?
I moved.
Approval.
I'll second.
Motion by Lauren, do I have a second?
Renee motioned, I seconded.
Motion by Renee, second by Lauren. All in favor, we'll go by roll call vote. Rocky Busnitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, yes.
Eric Deecher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Lauren Tice Miller,
Lauren, yes.
Erica Price, yes. Jason Scholes,
Yes.
for a 7-0 vote. We will move on to communications. And first, this is not how I envisioned our meeting. So I greatly appreciate everybody's flexibility and willingness to speak tonight, and we are all ready to listen. This is an opportunity for district patrons to address topics directly relevant to the business of the district or items on the current board agenda. All comments must be directed to the president of the board or presiding officer. Individuals will be given 3 minutes to present ideas, opinions, and or concerns. Tiffany, do you have any other guidance for us since this is the first time we've done public comment in this way?
Nope, I think you said it all. 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, they'll be asked to leave the meeting. I will admit them one at a time.
Okay. All right. Our first speaker will be Michelle Harrison.
Tiffany, are you going to let them know they're at 3, or do I need to do that?
You can do that, Matt.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Michelle, if you can hear us, you are live and I'm ready to speak to the board whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Ms. Harrison. You're still on mute.
There we go.
Thank you. Sorry.
You are live and I'm ready to speak to the board whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Price, members of the board, Mr. Hirsch. I am Michelle Harrison. I have many interests in the district. And I am a graduate, patron, parent. I'm in my 20th year of service to the district as a special education teacher at the middle school. I also serve currently as the president for your Shawnee Heights Education Association, or SHEA. It's in that capacity as a representative of your teacher members that I speak before you tonight. So SHEA members recognize that our board members have been caught in the difficult space between shifting requirements from the federal level, our state board, and evolving health information. We further recognize that given a difficult set of circumstances, our board is led with the best interests of students and teachers in mind. On behalf of the members of SHEA, I would like to thank you publicly for following the advice of our local health department and the CDC. It's been your willingness to follow these best practices that have allowed our schools to be open and for teachers to have the most continuity of service to our students. Thank you also for making the difficult decision this past week to move SHES to remote teaching in order to allow teachers and students the time and space they need to stabilize the learning environment. To our parents and patrons, I encourage you to reach out to your schools and teachers with a kind word or two. Your teachers want to be in their classrooms every day with all of their students when it is safe to do so. In the meantime, teachers are putting tremendous effort into their classrooms and your kitchen tables to create a community of safety and learning amid the chaos of a pandemic. We ask you to please continue to mask up, wash up, social distance, and when possible, vaccinate. Together, we can keep each other healthy and perhaps return to something a little more normal in the not too distant future. And finally, on behalf of SHEA, I want to express our sincere appreciation for your work as our board at a time when trolling seems to have become a national pastime. During public meetings, you all have demonstrated that even when we disagree, we don't need to be disagreeable in how we conduct ourselves. I want to thank you for that wonderful example that you have set for our students and the Shawnee Heights community. It's a great day to be a T-Bird. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harrison. Our next speaker is Stephanie Green.
Hi, Stephanie. If you want to unmute yourself, you are live and ready to address the board.
Hi, Ms. Green. Thank you for being here.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Elementary school students. Sorry, is that better? Okay. Elementary school students through Kansas should remain in school, even if COVID-19 spread in the community is so high that schools would otherwise close under guidance approved December 8th by the Kansas State Board of Education. Thank you for the opportunity to comment this evening. I am a parent of a fifth grader and am speaking on behalf of elementary students. There are several items that I would like to address this evening. We have heard at almost every board meeting that for every email that the board receives advocating for full in-person learning, that the board receives just as many emails supporting virtual learning. What I'm about to say may be unpopular, but it needs to be voiced. This is irrelevant and should not be taken into consideration when deciding if and when students should return to full-time in-person learning. There is an option for these parents and students that are not comfortable with in-person learning to attend virtually, which has always been an option. What should be taken in consideration is the effect that hybrid is having on our students and the parents and students asking or begging the board to return to in-person school full-time. I heard at the last board meeting that members of the board were in favor of following professional recommendations, but want kids in the classroom. When we get into the yellow zone, teachers get the vaccine, we get the kids back to full-time in-person learning. There's several issues with this. The board is placing a lot of expectations for the vaccine. I'm not advocating one way or another, But I do want to clear the air that the availability of vaccine to staff is not the answer. The vaccine is a 2-dose series with 3 to 4 weeks between the vaccine. Then your body has to have time to build immunity against the virus. I know that most of you have likely heard this information before, but as a parent, I'm concerned. If the vaccine is part of the solution in getting our kids back to school in person full time in a reasonable manner, we're likely looking at least 2 months out before the board deems our kids to be back in the classroom full time. The second item I want to address is the scorecard. I understand the purpose of the district scenario movement criteria was created as a method to determine the learning plan scenario, and that there are board members who would like to adhere to the scorecard. It should be noted that the scorecard was created over the summer based on the information that was available at that time. The board should be using the scorecard as a tool, not as the determining factor. The board should be using the scorecard along with other tools such as recommendations from the CDC, county, and the State Board of Education. The board is overwhelmingly going against the guidance. Randy Watson, the state education commissioner, said the chance for the virus impacting elementary schools, both from a teacher and student standpoint, is so low that the risk of not being in school is higher than being in school. That was on December 8th. The recommendation was informed by advice from public health experts, including the Kansas Department of Health and Environment and the University of Kansas Health System. There's absolutely no reason why our elementary schools are not open. Students and
Mrs.
staff are
Green, you're
wearing
at
masks.
3 minutes now, so you got give you
Thank
15
you.
seconds to wrap up.
The students and staff are wearing masks. The schools purchased death shields, implemented frequent hand washing, and other precautionary measures. We have another district, 345, within our county whose elementary schools have been going to school in person 5 days a week, not 4 but 5. Why isn't Shawnee Heights doing the same thing? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Our next speaker will be Chad Fay.
Hi, Mr. Fay, you are live and ready to address the board when you're ready.
Thank you for being here.
Yes. Good evening, board. As a Shawnee Heights parent, my concerns of the progression of the learning scenario are hopes of staying consistent and maintaining the safest learning environment for students and families. Excellence is something you, the board, and our community have accomplished all school year. Many of tonight's people might not see eye to eye as parents, but as parents, all we want is first. Oh my God, sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. I'm just as nervous as you are, I guarantee it.
It's reading off the screen. Many of tonight at the meeting will not see eye to eye. As parents, we all want is best for our kids. The numbers within our community are still relatively high. And with recent events and a short staff and high quarantine numbers causing Shawnee Heights Elementary School to transition to full remote, I would like to remind the board of who's truly at risk. Let's not forget that our district's demographic is made up of 32.4% minority racial backgrounds and 35% economically disadvantaged children. Minorities and economically disadvantaged families have been the hardest hit by COVID, being 2 times more likely to be hospitalized, according to CDC. Luckily, the board's decision to go hybrid early have kept numbers down to only 153 total positive cases. That's off the combination of Shawnee Heights scorecards. That's only 4.2% throughout the entire district. As for vaccinations, the state is only looking like they will get about 45,000 vaccines a week as part of phase 2. That's likely to take around 10 to 12 weeks to complete. That would put us at the end of the school year. I believe that in-person learning is the best scenario for every student. And I know that some districts are able to comply with CDC regulations and have in-person learning, but also other districts have lower minority racial backgrounds and economic disadvantaged children. Auburn, Washburn, demographic is 25% minorities and 35% economic disadvantage. Seaman District is around 18% minorities, 35% economically disadvantaged, putting their communities at lower risk. My third grade daughter was recently recognized for one of the 8 keys of excellence: commitment. The reason states Olive has earned the commitment award because she's 110% committed to her education. She has done the best job staying positive and determined through all her learning scenario changes.
Mr. Fay, you're at 3 minutes. I'll give you 15 seconds.
She attends all Zooms with a smile on her face. Commitment is what I'm asking of the community to keep our numbers down, and we will get back to in-person learning. Once again, I want to thank each board member, Superintendent Hirsch, and Shawnee Heights staff for the hard work and dedication of the young minds of Shawnee Heights. Go Chiefs.
Thank you, Mr. Fay. Next, we have Tim Watts. Welcome, Mr. Watts.
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You can go ahead and speak now.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Evening. Thank you to all in attendance tonight as we come together to look for solutions on how to develop a plan to return more students and teachers to the most effective learning model we have at our disposal: full in-person learning. In addition, I want to express a sincere appreciation to the teachers and support staff who are working extremely hard during these challenging times. Your efforts do not go unnoticed, and we appreciate all that you do. I would like those in attendance to consider the following questions with a few moments of my comment. How have grocery stores, box stores, hardware stores, liquor stores, gas stations, airlines, restaurants, and other public services managed to stay open? But 11 months into the pandemic, our kids are not even in class for 50% of in-school learning. Many of us think that the day we're waiting for is when everyone has a vaccine. The whole reason to get the vaccine is to produce antibodies. If the vaccine gives you antibodies and having COVID gives you antibodies, then couldn't we get all staff, students, and support staff who have had COVID back into the classroom, since actually having COVID gives you antibodies? We need to consider this and get these staff and students back into school. If classes are not intermingling and cleaning is consistently being done, we should be able to drill down outbreak mitigation to the school and grade, possibly even the class, if we do it right. No decision should be made for a school unless there is more than 5% absentee rate per Dr. Pizzino from an earlier school board meeting that I was in attendance at. How is Hayden in full in-person learning this week? Did you know that they only had one teacher out last week and no students out? I bring this up because yes, Hayden's overall enrollment is much lower than ours, but their high school is virtually the same size as our middle school. What could we do to create a Shawnee Heights community collaborative environment? How can we work together? What if on the Mondays opposite of the board meeting, we met as a community? We could have half of the school board, 5 parents, 5 staff members come together and discuss action items on how we can support and get our kids back into learning. We need to discuss ideas. We can rotate board members, parents, and teachers, or we can keep it the same. Our district shows that 25% of 7th to 11th graders are failing 2 or more classes. This is the result of hybrid learning. Our students and our community deserve better. In conclusion, I eagerly hope that members of this school board, administrators, and other staff will reflect on these questions. Together, we need to have an open dialogue, come together, and find a way to educate our children, our community, and our future. Thank you, the Watts family.
Thank you, Mr. Watts. Next, we have Sarah Shaughnessy.
All right, Sarah, you should be live and ready to address the board. You'll just need to unmute yourself.
Good evening, Ms. Shaughnessy.
Hello, good evening. My name is Sarah Shaughnessy, and I am the mother of a 4th and 5th grader at Tecumseh North. In the past several months, I've been disheartened by the amount of tension that has developed within our district. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay. In the past several months, I've been disheartened by the amount of tension that has developed within our district. I understand that our community of different perspectives, beliefs, needs, and desires will inevitably clash over certain issues. This isn't anything new, and it certainly isn't unique to our district. However, after the last board meeting, it became clear to me that we have reached a destructive level of conflict. I'm here tonight because I want to help reestablish our district of respect, compromise, and excellence. As a human resources professional, maybe I'm just hardwired for conflict resolution. It seems like unanswered questions are driving a lot of the frustration. Is it possible to take a bit of time to answer any questions you can after the public comment portion of each meeting? Sorry. I think it is important to remember that some might have missed other meetings or forgotten important information. So it would be good for things to be cleared up before jumping into other agenda items. For example, it isn't even a possibility to move forward with full in-person learning for the middle school or high school students for the rest of the semester, but people are still regularly asking for it. Reminding people of the November deadline for that decision, how the decision was made, and that the scheduling system is too complex to change mid-semester would be very beneficial. This could also be a time that people are reminded about who to contact about certain issues that are brought up. I've heard people bring up things that the board can't immediately help with because they need to go through the proper channels that are outlined in the USD 450 website. And some people may not know this. I want to close by thanking all teachers, staff, and board members for their work during this incredibly difficult time. At the beginning of the school year, I emailed the board asking you for your support for our teachers. Teaching is already hard. It's a world full of challenges such as lack of family engagement, constantly advancing curriculums, state standards, lack of funding, copious amounts of paperwork, students at different levels of learning, and so much more. The pandemic took an incredibly difficult situation and made it even harder. I have had an incredible experience with the teachers my girls have had, and they have definitely earned my trust. I understand that they see a bigger picture than I do. I continue to push for teachers' needs, concerns, and preferences to be a top consideration as decisions are made. Eventually, things will be back to normal. We already know that students will come back from this at all different levels and with different needs. At that time, we'll figure out how education will recover from the impact of COVID-19. But right now, we all just need to work together to survive it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shaughnessy. Our next speaker is Cindy Branham. We're ready when you are. I think you're still on mute. Welcome, Ms. Branham.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And thank you, board members, for your time and being there and for all you're trying to do for our students and for our teachers and for our district. I understand the position you're in must be a really tough one. We do respect that you have this position. And we ask that you would look at all of us. Can you hear us now? Can you still hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, you'll need to turn off the extra sound though.
Yeah, my husband was, I'm so sorry, I apologize.
You're good. We
Okay,
can hear you
so back to thanking the board very, very much for everything that you guys have done for us. But I do ask that you guys keep an open mind to all of our children's needs. There's been so much negativity around this topic, you know, and it's caused a huge divide between parents. And I think that's because all of us as parents want the very best for our children at all costs. And we're fighting for that. We're fighting for our children. And I listened to the last board meeting, and I was really concerned, as a lot of the comments from you guys as board members, on being so fearful of the what ifs. We're following this chart of colors on COVID positive tests and this and this and this. But I didn't hear anybody really say, how is this affecting our students? I understand it's hard on our teachers. In fact, I think we're failing our teachers because of the workload they have and the stress that they're under and the juggling this hybrid and this at home and this online. And I think that since it's begun, nobody really asks, how is this affecting our kids? Their overall health and well-being is the most important thing we should be looking at. Not if or they will contract it, or if they might spread it, or but what if? It has been said that you cannot succeed academically if you're struggling internally. And our kids' mental health is struggling really bad. The national suicide rate has gone up in high schoolers and junior hires 40%, almost 40%, 31%, excuse me, I have them right in front of me, 31% in 12 to 17-year-olds and 24% in ages 5 to 11, compared with that same time period in 2019. That's the suicide rate. You know, I heard one of the board members at the last meeting, you know, say that his senior wants to be in school and he doesn't like this and he's struggling. And then I heard the board member say, but I want him to live. I want him to be alive. Well, I can tell you that my son, he died in 2015. I have lost a child. He died as a sophomore in high school. I know what it feels like to lose a child, but I can tell you what, when I look at my daughter right now, who is going to speak to you tonight because she so wants to be in school, I can tell you that I want to guarantee her future. And then what I know is that academically, our students are failing. What does that mean? Well, it means for my A student, she's getting Bs, which can affect her scholarships for college, which can affect maybe what college she may get into. For students that are struggling regularly in school and then they've come to this, it may mean dropping out. It may mean they never get to go to school. And the worst part is, it also might mean we might lose them to suicide. We could. What ifs? We think about the what ifs all the time. But are we
Brandon,
really,
you're at 3 minutes. I'll give you 15 seconds.
are we really seeing how this is affecting them? And the mental health of our children is as important or more important than the what ifs of what COVID might do. So I implore you to give us a choice. Give us parents a choice. Either let the parents choose to put their kids online if they don't feel safe, or let the parents choose to at least have our kids in school 4 days a week. Our kids deserve better from us. Please think outside the box of what their futures hold for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Branham. Next up, we have Madison Branham.
Hi.
Good evening.
I'm Madison Branham. I'm a 9th grader this year. Many of my classmates and I agreed that we should be fully back in school as it benefits our ability to get work done easier and helps our learning experience. Even kids like me who normally have straight A's are struggling because we don't have all the opportunities or capabilities that we normally would have. If straight A students are failing, then think of the kids who already struggle. The kids who get through the year barely passing. Take the student who gets C's on a normal day and put them in this environment. Now they're near failing. Right now, the parents who don't want their students in school have them placed in fully online classes. Everybody else is in school, and most of these students want to be there. I spoke to a few of my teachers and they said that they want everyone to be safe, but that if we can be fully in person, it would be better than hybrid. Because of hybrid, students are being given large amounts of work and it's making it hard for kids to have motivation. Some kids are even working 8 to 10 hours on online days. Yes, COVID is a factor in all of this, but the amount of people who don't have COVID heavily outweighs the amount that do. Being in school can benefit students who don't have great home lives, students that depend on school for lunch, meals, and just support. It gives kids a chance to escape and feel more secure. Some students also don't have the internet capabilities or the excess needs of utensils or books at home. Some students, but overall, I believe that being in school benefits everyone and that we need to do what's best for the students and their education. Our futures are ahead of us, and right now things aren't looking so great. If we're being forced to do school anyways, then we should at least be able to do it the way that works best for us. And what works best is being in school where we can get everything done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Branham. All right. Madison was our last speaker for tonight. I want to thank everyone who, like I said, took the time and were flexible with us in this change and took the time to join and speak tonight. We're going to move on to action items. Business by consent. I do need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Renee, second by Jason. I'll do a roll call vote. Rocky Busnitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, yes.
Eric Deecher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Lauren Tice Miller,
Lauren, yes.
Erica Price, yes. Jason Schulz.
Jason, yes.
That's a 7-0. We will move on to the approve the USD 450 learning scenario movement.
Tiffany, can I share my screen, please?
You'd be able to now.
We'll start with the county scorecard. This last week, it was at a 17, which is just at the, I originally thought it was in the orange when I looked at it the other day, but no, it's still in the red, the very bottom of the red in the uncontrolled area. It went down from a 19 the week before to the 17 of this week. Cases have dropped again. I believe the week before this one, before last week, it was in the 900s and it dropped to 752 and it dropped to 604. The current week, actually, if we looked at, I just pulled this off just before the meeting today. They keep track of this on the Shawnee County website. We've had some requests to have some more current numbers. And what I can say is that in the past week, see, the last scorecard ended on the 23rd. So if we started on the 24th, which I believe is the 38, I can't tell from here. I think it's the 38, but 7 days goes to the 74, and that gives a 459. So if we have 459, then the next 2 days right after that are low. So it's definitely going down and continuing to drop. So we should be in the 400s, about 459 for this week coming up. So it's good to see that trend dropping. That's what we were hoping for all along. Just so you know, to get to out of the uncontrolled area, you have to get to 175. So we're still quite a ways from that. We'd have to, at this current rate, it'll take a couple more weeks at least to get down there if we keep dropping at the rate we are. But it's definitely a good trend. Like I said, things numb away. There we are. Here we are last week. A couple other pieces of information before I get to our scorecard. I wanted to compile a little more data. one of the emails I got this week kind of prompted me to compile by week and just see how we were doing by building. I was kind of interested to see, these are positive COVID cases per week by building going back clear into September and all the way up through this current week. And the trend I'd like you to see is, especially in my elementaries, you can see, like if I look at Barryton here, the yellow color means they're in hybrid learning. Those are the weeks we're in hybrid. Green, those elementaries were in full in. Red was a full remote. We had Christmas break, and then the yellow is we're back in hybrid. So you can see Barryton with all their cases, this is adults, students, everything. They're pretty consistent, 1, 2, 3 a week, fairly consistent, some with none. Shez, similar all the way down. They had a blip here at the bottom. That's what we're dealing with right now. We had some quarantines associated with that also. Tecumseh North, again, done a nice job with his cases, very consistent. T-South, done a good job. We had a blip here. That was post, November 28th. That was right after Thanksgiving. And then this one was right after Christmas. We knew we might have missed some people in the Christmas break, so we were anticipating even the high school had some catch-up numbers there, but some blips there. So this kind of shows you that we've been pretty consistent. We've done a nice job in our buildings with our cases, and trying to keep up on that. Another piece of data I wanted to show you a little bit was based on student age. I actually took all our data and converted their birthdays for the students into their age. This would give us a good feel on what grade level they were in our buildings. Age 4 through 8, you're looking at kind of that pre-K through 2nd grade approximately. Altogether, we had 20 cases, but you can see if you looked at the 4-year-olds, they only had 2. 5-year-olds had 3. 6-year-olds had 2. 7-year-olds had 6 or 7. 8-year-olds had 6. So you can see it goes up a little bit, but it continues to rise as your ages go up. 9 through 12, you're talking about that grades 3 through 6, about 31 cases there. You can see how they were divided by buildings. Then you get into your middle school. Again, ages are approximate, so I got a couple of kids that are actually 12 in my middle school. Same thing as my high school. I got a couple of kids that are 14 in high school. But you can see the number of cases there. So basically, I was showing you that just to show you give you a feel for those numbers. I think that's important as we're trying to make decisions on if we come back with a group or not. Kind of what effect is that having in our district? We've seen numbers for the county, but this kind of shows you where we're at with our district. And to give you a little bit of a feel, these 20 kids here in the pre-K through 2 represent about 2.4% of their age groups. So if I counted all the kids we had in our pre-K through 2nd grade, there's about 840 kids. So 20 kids out of that is 2.4% of them. So we're talking a small percentage in the whole population. Also wanted to talk a little bit about some teachers. We went and talked to our teachers again. Instead of doing a written survey, I actually had my principals go around and talk to them individually and make sure they understood what we were asking as a possibility and to get their opinions and some comments on them. I'm gonna propose bringing back some pre-K through 2nd grade students today. One of the reasons it's coming up today, and it hasn't come up before, well, some of it's the same, some of it's different, but one of our primary concerns is these kids are very important on their teaching reading. Notice I spelled a word wrong there. Apologize there. Students has too many N's. But reading is very important in these pre-K through 2nd grade. We had hoped vaccines were right around the corner. And Mr. Dial is going to give you an update later on that. But from what we're hearing from the county, the process is going much slower than we'd hoped. there's only about 2,000 doses a week right now coming to Shawnee County, and there's about 65,000 people in phase 2. That'll take a lot of weeks if it doesn't speed up. We don't know when we will be in that process yet. So without vaccines coming, we do have some concerns about the reading of our students, and those are critical years, that pre-K through second grade years. We also know these pre-K through second grade students struggle most at home just because of their age. They need a lot more support when they are learning. And so at their home, it just takes a lot more effort from whoever that caregiver is to support them. So that's one reason this age group is being focused on initially and looking at bringing kids back. We did talk to these teachers. We talked to all the teachers, but I wanted to focus on the pre-K through 2 teacher input because that was our most positive group we had about bringing kids back. And plus we know the age group from the slide I showed earlier have fairly small numbers in our district, especially as you go down to the pre-K, K1 ages. Of our teachers that were served, this data only represents the classroom teachers. We talked to the other teachers that were teach specials, PE, music, things like that. But I wanted to focus specifically on the ones that are in the classroom, working with kids in the class. Of those, across the district, we had 26 that were good with bringing kids back for 4 days. We had 5 that were in that neutral range. That meant they were either undecided about whether they wanted to bring them back or not, or there's some hang up they had that they wanted to make sure was solved before they committed to the S side. And then we had 8 teachers in that age group that said no, they weren't ready for that to bring them back. Some of the comments that were made, we got the first comment here very consistently from the principals when I was talking to them. Whatever choice is made, I'm hearing this from parents, I'm hearing this from teachers. They just want consistency and not flipping back and forth all the time. So if we do make a change, let's stay there and not go backwards again. And then the second one goes with that. If we do have to go back, do like we did at Shez, where we shut down a classroom or shut down a building due to staffing issues. We heard that consistently from the principals across the board. Some of the teachers that actually chose the neutral we also interviewed other teachers, but some of them were saying we're a pre-K through 6 school. We should all, if we're going to come back, we need to do all of us. That might have meant they were ready. That might have meant they weren't ready, but that was a comment we got back several times. One of the concerns was staffing. Will we have the ability to staff? With our situation at Shez, we were working very hard for that week to keep it in as long as we could, and then just realized it was losing battle there, and so that's when we shut down on Friday. But the other buildings also have that concern of just making sure we get things staffed right. If the vaccine was there, it'd be an easier decision. We all agree there. We were hopeful that was going to happen, but we're not sure when quite yet that's going to happen. And then they were concerned about the social distancing. If we were going to come back, my proposal I'm looking at in talking to the teacher or the principals is to go back to the idea we had when we first came back for 4 days and do cohort groups for the classroom. So that classroom would be its own cohort group. So in the classroom, there would not be social distancing with the students and the staff in that classroom. That's one of the reasons we're starting with the young ones too. We know that their transmission rates are much, much lower, and the chances of transmission are much, much smaller with those kids and adults. So, but it would not happen in the classroom. Outside the classroom, classes would stay away from other classes. We would do full social distancing between classrooms of kids. So going to my scorecard. There we are. So our average for 2 weeks is 18, still in the uncontrolled range. Distribution of cases, we're still in that kind of yellow range with staff and students as far as our cases are concerned. I did move to the orange on staff absenteeism based on SHES. The difference now is now that we've had the opportunity to close a class in a building due to absenteeism. We can take the opportunity to want to focus that as we want to, as we need to, as opposed to shutting down everything. So even though we're in the orange there, that's where my next proposal kind of reflects upon that. What I'm going to propose is for pre-K through second grades, our 3 schools that are doing a great job as far as staffing right now and don't have any issues are Barrington, T North, and T South. So my recommendation is to go ahead and with 4-day on-site learning for that group starting in 2 weeks. SHES, we need to make sure they are able to staff it. So the recommendation there is to hold them in hybrid or remote, wherever they're at for now. And when they feel, we feel, I would say that if you would give me the opportunity to make that decision, what I would do is when they are at the point where they can come and complete in 4-day on site, we would just move them there and I could help make that decision as opposed to bringing it to the board to make that happen. Then everybody grades 3 through 12 at this time would stay in hybrid. So that's the proposal. I know the scorecard doesn't look much different, and actually, in some ways, with the orange here, it was worse than it was. But I think the numbers I showed earlier with the number of cases for those age groups, it's a good place to start for us. If you're not comfortable with the pre-K through 2, we could also look at smaller age groups. Do we want to do pre-K kindergarten, pre-K kindergarten 1? We've got some flexibility. But that's my proposal on that. So we'll go from there, have discussion.
This is always the hard part, who goes first, right? I'll start off by saying that, yeah, I struggle still. I struggle every meeting. I struggle every 2 weeks. And the 2 weeks ago, for me, it was the county numbers and it's vaccines. And at that point, we thought we were going to have some vaccinations, I think, coming out a little faster than, I think that we were told we were going to get them sooner. And now we're finding out we are not. And at what point do we finally just start getting kids back into the classroom? So, I've really taken some time to think about it, and I wish there was a crystal ball and that could tell me from here on out numbers are going to get better, vaccinations are going to roll out, and I don't think the vaccinations aren't going to come as fast as we want them to come. They're not, and I do believe we need to start getting our kids back into the classroom. And it means a lot to me that you have the approval of the majority of those teachers we're discussing and bringing back the pre-K through second grade. And I appreciate that, the data on that. So for me, I appreciate you addressing the social distancing and reminding us that we will be doing the cohort groups. I think as you've shown, the transmission rates we've had with the younger kids is low, and the data does support that. And I know I say this, and I know the teachers are struggling too. And So I guess I do support the proposal. I know we have a lot of discussion, so I will let someone else speak.
Yeah, I had one more piece here. One of the reasons I'm also bring this by now is it was important for me to get teacher buy-in. And so 3 of the 4 buildings were very strong in favor. We knew Shawnee Heights Elementary was going to be the more nervous of the group just based on their current situation. But overall, the numbers look good, and the principals and I felt very good about them.
Erica?
Yes.
This is me. I tend to want to listen to Matt and try to start getting those young kids that are trying to learn those basic reading skills back in school. But I would like to hear verbally from each of the principals from those, at least the 3 grade schools, what their thoughts are. Because I just would like to hear what they think.
Sure. Jennifer, you want to start us out? I see you first on my screen.
Yeah, no problem. So I went through and asked all of my teachers. If I look at pre-K through 2, I just pulled up my data. I have 73% with yes and 27 with neutral. I have nobody in the no section. I think where our comments were is that we just wanted the families to know and you to know that we can't social distance in those classrooms. We wanted to be really transparent about that we would be utilizing those cohort groups that we did when we were all back in session. That was really important that you all know that. So that was the biggest feedback that I had with my pre-K 2 coming back.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, do you have any other questions I can answer about that?
No, I just want to hear verbally what since you were right there with the teachers, I just want to hear it from you guys.
Absolutely.
Ms. Hummer, you want to speak now?
Well, it's no secret we've had staffing concerns in my building, so our data was different. I just want to advocate on behalf of my building that this is not a question as to whether our staff think that in-person learning is important. They do. Truly, their responses were based on our staffing needs. And that was, if any comments were collected, it was truly there. But having the transparency with parents that when we bring students back, that social distancing, like Mrs. Hill said, will not be happening at that 6-foot mark. And the other thing is just full transparency. And now that we've been in this situation, we've seen it play out, but there might be at times, based on staffing, the need to close a classroom, which we started at Shez, and at times move an entire building remote, which again, we have now experienced and see that our central office supports us in that you all support us in that when it comes to making decisions on what's best for the learning environment for all kids.
Ms. Bivens?
Hi, good evening. When asking and talking to my pre-K through 2nd grade teachers, I had 2 neutrals. And the main reason why they were neutral is that they weren't, a no, but they couldn't say yes because they just want that consistency. So if we're going to move pre-K or kindergarten or whatever we're going to move in, that we stay as best as possible, that we stay in that all-in situation and not go back to hybrid. And with the understanding of the situation that happened at Shez, where they did have to close the building, or if we had to close a classroom, or whatever the case may be, that could absolutely happen, but not shifting necessarily the whole building back to hybrid or back to remote. And then I also had 2 no's out of that group as well. And then the others were yeses, that were all in favor of us coming back. But again, the key word has been consistency, and making sure that, you know, we're not moving prematurely into all in, but making sure that we are consistent with what we're doing for teachers and for the students and for their parents. So that is pretty much what my building said. Do you all have any questions for me?
Thank you.
Ms. Berbert?
I'm sorry, I'm going to ask real quick.
Go ahead.
So that you had the 2 no's, what is the total number of yeses? What does that equate out to?
Let me count. Hang on just one second. Well, I have 10 teachers, and so if I have 2 no's and 2 neutrals, that's 4. So I would have 6 yeses, so 60%.
Thank you.
Out of pre-K through 2.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Berbert?
So my colleagues have done a great job of painting the picture, and I agree with everything they've said. I think the one thing I would just add on, in speaking to all of our staff, I really realized that just the challenge of hybrid for our P2 teachers is really intense. Just in that if you walk into a typical, I'll just say kindergarten or first grade classroom, they're changing activities about every 8 to 10 minutes, just based on students' attention needs. And so preparing the manipulatives and just the coursework to go home with our very youngest students, that's a challenge that seems to be much more intense for our primary folks than it is for our intermediate folks. And so that's just one thing I ask that you factor in. That's something I kept hearing over and over while talking to our P2 teachers.
And did you have a different amount of yeses and nos? Or, I mean, obviously everyone wants everyone to be in school, but.
Yeah, I had about 90% of my folks who were at yes. I had exactly 90%. I had 9 yeses, 1 no's, and 1 teacher that I didn't get a chance to speak with, just because she was out of the building.
Okay. I don't have any other questions, and at this point, I think I would be in favor of supporting Matt's proposal and also giving him the authority with Shez to make that call. So that's all I'm going to say for.
Matt, thank you for breaking down that data. That was very helpful. Seeing that by age group and by building, it definitely paints a clearer picture as we're trying to make these decisions. Yes, a question for you guys is, and I don't know if you would know this or not, but we keep getting emails about parents with students who have IEPs. And if we were to say, take your recommendation, Matt, and say K through 2, and then if we said at the elementary level, all IEPs also come back, is that, I guess, how many kids to each classroom would that add? And is that learning for those IEP students being in person, would that be more advantageous than their current learning model?
So for pre-K through 2, they'd all be there if we bring them all back. So that group's taken care of. It'd be the 3 through 6 kids. And the only issue of bringing them back is still the ability to distance in those classrooms. So if you guys decided to bring the rest of the special ed students back, that would effectively overload the rest of the 3rd through 6th grade classrooms. We have tried to fill them full already based on students that the building set some criteria to try to decide who needed the support the most. And that's a hard thing to decide. because we're all wired to try to help everybody in education. But so they have filled those rooms as full as they can. I think all of them, I'm seeing nods coming from several of them at least. So if you make that call, then it just either we overload the rooms or we have to figure out how to deal with that. But I do not know how many special education students are still left. I don't know if we have that number or not.
Yeah, I apologize for asking you out like that to hear cold. That's my fault for not getting you that question ahead of time.
Any other board members?
Yeah. I've got a question for the elementary principals. Are you guys suggesting that once we start bringing our elementary kiddos back to school 4 days a week, we completely take the idea off of going back to hybrid off the table?
That's what they're asking, yes. That if we have to change, it be something like we did at Shez where we do a day or two of remote, something like that.
So it goes down to all or nothing.
Yes, but they don't want to go remote for 4 weeks. They want to just do it for enough time to get us back in gear and then go back in again. That's what we're hearing from our staff.
And if I could just interject, Mr. Schultz, it's not just our teachers, it's our parents, it's our kids. It's just really, all of that change is really hard on everyone. So it's just not the teachers. The parents have a hard time with it, arranging for daycare, all sorts of things. So it's everybody who's involved. That changing is just really hard.
I'm glad Mrs. Hill said that. I got several emails from parents that were appreciative that we made that decision. And so, yeah, it's coming from both sides.
Well, going into tonight's meeting, I still had the concerns about us moving out of the hybrid too quickly. But seeing these numbers and the response that we've gotten from our staff, I do appreciate the principals and gathering that information and breaking it down for us the way that you have. And also with Matt, with the information that you were able to, the number that was very good, very, very helpful. That I could say that I couldn't see supporting us making that change. I thought it was too big of a step at this time, and was possibly looking at maybe supporting us just going with the pre-K and the K as a baby step, and then working our way, then moving into the first and second. You threw that out to beginning as well. But again, listening to our building administrators, I think that this may be getting us in the right direction in a safe way. I still have incredible concerns about the lack of the ability to social distance. That, I understand about the cohorts and that process and everything, but still our teachers are not able to social distance at all. And, but I think if we can, move forward and start with this group and see where we can go from there. But I think that we should, not rush into bringing the others back. I mean, have that out there a little bit more. So that's where I'm at. I will support Matt's recommendation.
Lauren or Rosa?
Well, I've been for bringing back the pre-K through second grade for a while, so I will support it. And then I would like to see if we can have those same questions addressed to the next level of teachers in 2 weeks, so that we can gradually start bringing in the other children in the elementary schools, and then make the transition for middle and high school coming up soon too. So, yeah, so I don't really have much to say. I thank the teachers and the principals for doing the survey, but I'm for bringing them back. So.
Lauren, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Oh, I'm still trying to gather my thoughts on this. We back in July when we passed the back to school plan, I never would have imagined that we would then continue talking about learning scenarios nearly every 2 weeks. It was when we passed it, it was always my impression that we would pick a method and we would stick with it until we had the data and the community to support us moving backwards. But instead, what we've gotten is literally every 2 weeks, we're discussing this. And I also thought that when we decided to go hybrid back in July, that we would get community buy-in and that we would all be in this together as a community and committed to doing everything we could to keep our numbers down so we could get our kids back in school safely and that we wouldn't have these ebbs and flows of cases and things like that. And I look at the data, I look at the Shawnee County scorecard, and I also know that we created our scorecard right in conjunction at the exact same time that the county created theirs, and that was not back in July. That was more like September that we adopted that, and we've consistently followed that. And we've had, we've gone back and forth on the conversations about, well, do we bring pre-K through 2 back, or do we do baby steps, or do we just bring them all in? And I'm having a hard time. I understand how critical reading is for pre-K through 2, but I also understand how critical learning math skills, multiplication tables, long division, that starts happening in 3rd grade, 4th grade. There are critical things in all of the grade levels. And one of the things that we've talked about consistently is that we never wanted to pit groups of teachers, grade levels against each other. And that's exactly what we're starting to do now. And I also have concerns with the disruption that's created if we're going to take hybrid completely off the table and it's just, oh, well, it's okay, we can always close a classroom or we can always close a school building. Well, then we're sending those kids remote. And, another concern of mine is we hear from the parents who have opted for hybrid because they're comfortable sending their kids 2 days a week. They're not comfortable sending them 4 days a week because it means they're sacrificing space in the classroom. They're comfortable with the 6 feet, the masks, the being able to eat lunch with the distance when they're not wearing masks. That doesn't happen when we have the kids in the classroom pre-K through 2 or even if we brought all of them back. One of the main things that parents had concerns about was sacrificing the space. And, it's not, there was a comment made about how it's irrelevant to mention that for every parent who comes and talks at the meeting, that we also have parents who email us. We have teachers who email us. Everybody's concern is worth hearing and it's worth considering. And the point of saying that is for every kid who is struggling in hybrid, there's a kid who's being successful in remote, or for every kid who's able to attend hybrid, they wouldn't be able to attend in 4 days. So there's always all of that, which is why I always go back to the data and the scorecards that we passed. And so I'll be honest, I'm really struggling tonight. I have consistently said that I do not support compromising any of the COVID mitigations, and this would require us to do that. And the very first speaker we had tonight was the SHEA president, who was speaking on behalf of all of the SHEA members. and they want to come back when we can come back, when it's safe. And compromising a mitigation effort or mitigation strategy doesn't make it safe. So, you know, if I have to stand alone and not supporting this, and it's not because I'm not listening to Mr. Hirsch, because we've had a number of these discussions over the last year of what's right and what's wrong. But right now, I want to stay with consistency. I want to listen to the teachers, and I want to listen to just as many parents who and teachers and all of that who email us as they do come and speak at our meetings. So I'm leaning towards no.
Okay. Anyone else like to make a comment? I guess what I would say also is that there are critical things that happen at every level of every grade. And I do acknowledge that. You're right. There are just as many important things that happen in those in third and fourth and fifth and sixth grades. But we have to start somewhere. This has gone on 11 months. And I feel like the yo-yoing is too much. And if we decide to bring pre-K through 2 back in, we're going to be in. And us as a board will have to make that commitment we're not going back to hybrid. If we have a situation, we go classroom, building temporarily. I do believe that I think that's the way that we need to do this. That's obviously my opinion, and I am one. And I do believe that cohorts is one of the strategies that's been mentioned several times. So you're right. You have to have one or the other. It's either you're going to do the social distancing or you're going to do the cohorting. And the teachers have been asked by the administrators their thoughts. And I think we've listened to that group of teachers tonight. They are represented by their administrators. So I feel like that's the voice. Those are the voices I need to listen to right now. And when we go into doing 3 through 6 and on up, I think that's important. We listen to each group of those teachers. We do need a motion at some point. This is an action item.
Can I say something else
Sure.
in regards to our littles?
Sure.
So also, you know, my teachers are doing an excellent job of doing their very best at maintaining the social distance of students within their classrooms. It's much easier for the older grades because they get it. They understand that they have to stay apart. But when you look at our pre-K and our kindergarten students, trying to get them even, you know, just within their own classroom, they're already cohorted to where they're not intermingling with the other classrooms, but within their own classrooms to social distance, it is a challenge for them to maintain that at all times, especially, you know, even with the teacher and not the teacher not being, you know, further or closer than 6 feet. Likewise, I ran my numbers for my average class size, and my average class size is 16 students for pre-K through 2nd grade. I have been very blessed this year to have smaller class numbers. My highest class is actually my daughter's class in 2nd grade. She's at 19, and still 19 students is pretty low. They can try to, you know, keep the kids at a distance, but they are doing a very nice job of maintaining that cohort. So I'm not sure if that helps, but at North, my numbers are low pre-K through 2nd grade.
Erica, I move that we approve Matt's recommendation.
I second. This is Rosa.
Motion by Rocky, second by Rosa. All in favor, we'll do a roll call vote. Rocky Business.
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos.
Rosa, yes.
Eric Teacher.
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes. And I want to clarify that we're giving Matt the authority to let Shez go back in when it's time. Is that correct?
Agree.
that is how I understand it, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Lauren Tice Miller,
Lauren, no.
Erica Price is a yes. Jason Schultz,
Yes.
we have 6-1. Do I do I do that the other way around also? We have the 6-1. Do I need to go back and do the no's?
No.
She said no.
No? Okay. All right, we're gonna move on to approve the 2021-2022 calendar.
Where did I put it? There it is. You should have a copy of it yourself from your board notes. We should reset up the calendar again. Let me get my notes on this. So it's going to have 172 student days like we generally have, 190 staff days. Start date will be August 17th. The end date will be May 26th. You'll see some dates there in June. That's our summer. We continue on with our preschool for the month of June. So that just notes when they finish. There is obviously some interest from people to get Christmas break. They love that 2 weeks, by the way. I know everybody knew that, that we had this year. That was an awesome opportunity to get that. It's not as doable with this calendar. But we did get 8 days, which is what we have to have per negotiated agreement, 8 work days, and then there'll be 11 total days for Christmas. The way the quarters fall out is quarter 1 is 42 days, quarter 2 is 41, quarter 3 is 42, and quarter 4 is actually 47. That's not bad to have fourth quarter longer. It's about 5 days longer because of all the state testing that generally occurs in a normal year in quarter 4. That's actually very helpful for the buildings to get a few more days in fourth quarter to help accomplish that. So we ran this by the administrative team, and they went through a draft or two with me, and then we ran it by SHEA, and they ran it by their group, and we made an adjustment or two from there, and this is what we ended up with. So I just recommend approval of the calendar. By the way, we've had a request from SHEA to look at a potential COVID type calendar for next year. We'll go ahead and look at that to be ready if we have to deal with that. But right now, I just wanted to do the normal calendar so we can get things lined out and start going for people that need to use it.
Erica, this is Renee.
Yes.
Unless people have questions, I move approval.
Motion by Renee. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Jason. We'll do a roll call vote.
Hold on,
Roger
I
Dusick.
have- Wait, I
Real
have.
quick, I'll be very
I'm
sorry.
sorry. Questions.
Sorry, Mr. Hirsch, I'm just curious. You said that the teachers liked the 2 weeks, and I'm throwing this out there because it may come up later. Is it possible to do those couple of days remote for them, or is that not something we should even discuss right now?
Right now, we can't do remote learning days next year because that was a special exemption that was made for this year only.
Okay.
We won't be allowed to do snow days as remote days next year unless they change the rules. If they change the rules, we could always come back and look at it.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay.
Okay. Ready for roll call? All right, Rocky Busnitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, yes.
Eric Deecher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Lauren Tice Miller,
Lauren, yes.
Erica Price, yes. Jason Scholes,
Jason, I.
Jason is yes. We will move on to approve board policy updates.
So we gave you the this list of board policies last meeting. This meeting, we just need to approve them. We have a combination of different things. Several of them reflect just changing some language through the pandemic to reflect some of the new things that are happening and make sure they fit in the policies. Updated some dropout forms for students that are dropping out of school. We always have forms we have to go over with them. There's a change in the health wellness policy. They added some language there to update it. And then they had some information on new update to the gang intimidation policy. You'll remember that we changed the word gang to organized groups. So my recommendation after discussion is to accept these policies, but to change the word gang back to what we decided it was going to be as organized groups. So open it up to you guys.
Erica, I'd make a motion to approve.
With the
With Matt's
wording change.
recommendations. Yes, organized group. Yeah.
I have a motion by Lauren. I need a second.
Rosa, second.
Second by Rosa. We'll do a roll call vote. Rocky Busnitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, yes.
Eric Deecher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Lauren Tice Miller,
Lauren, yes.
Erica Price, yes. Jason Scholes.
Jason, I.
All right, that's a 7-0. We'll move on to approve change to high school science credit offerings.
What the high school is interested in is when we added vocational agriculture, they added some classes such as animal science, plant soil science, veterinary science, natural resources and management, and environmental resources and wildlife science. They're currently not considered courses we can allow for high school credit unless you guys, or for science credit through us as our graduation policy here at Shawnee Heights. So they would like to add those so that their ag science and other students that are interested in those can use some of them for their science classes. If Stacy Bell or Mr. West has any input on this, I'll let them give that now if they have any.
So good evening. Allowing our high school students to count some of these classes as science credits, if you'll remember, they have to have 3. They still will be required to take biology and an integrated science A and possibly physics. But what this does is allow some of our students, especially our Washburn Tech students, to still get some science credits and participate in that Washburn Tech experience. Currently, if they do the Washburn Tech, then they really have to decide whether they want to pursue some more VOAG classes or a math credit, and they can't do it all. And so this gives opens up a little bit more freedom for that. It also makes the pathway for our students to become completers of these pathways and get some certifications in the VOAG pathway, which would be really exciting for a lot of our students. So we recommend approval.
Stacy, I have a question.
Yes.
On these classes that they're offering through VOAG, are there some basic science?
Yes, so that's
taught that they're going that they are not going to miss out on because they're taking these instead of something else.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we met with the science department chair and Mr. Steele, who does the CTE
pathways with Mr. West. And what they said was that these particular 5 classes have a nice heavy component of lab work in them that makes that more of a science class. They're not asking for recommendation for a few of those others at this time because it's not really science based. And none of these are doable until the kids take introduction to agriculture first. So they'd have to show an interest in that in their first year or two before they'd even be taking classes like this to count as a science credit. So we'll still have students that are going to take their normal science pathway and get the credits that they need. But this is just for kids that really want to learn more about agriculture, vet science, some of those things.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. I move approval.
Motion by Renee, second by Eric. We'll do a roll call vote.
Hold on, I had an-
Oh,
hold
I'm
on, I had
sorry.
another
I'm sorry.
question.
I skipped that way too fast.
Just remember to ask for discussion. And
I
then you'll
need to
get
do that. Thank you.
Stacy, my question is, it's, if I remember correctly, there are certification requirements when it comes to teaching various high school subjects, right? So are the teachers who teach the ag classes, do they have the science certification, or would they be required to have the science certification to be able to teach these classes?
Well, they have to be certified to teach the class of animal science or whatever.
Okay.
So we get to decide as a district whether we count that credit as a science credit or just an elective credit. And to be honest, some kids will take all their regular 3 science credits, and these will just float to electives anyway. But for some of our, especially our Washburn Tech kids, this does free up an hour or 2 of them to be able to continue on their path.
Okay, thank you.
You're satisfied that this level of rigor in these classes is sufficient enough for a science class?
Yes, I am. And this also provides a little bit more opportunity for some success for some of our students that wouldn't be necessarily interested in physics, that they might really have an animal background and passion, and they're still going to be doing scientific method, and they're still going to be writing, participating in lab write-ups and all those things we would want them to also learn in a science curriculum.
When we added ag ed, this was one of the goals we had to add these types of courses so kids could have a better variety. So it's kind of along with what we've always wanted to do.
Any other discussion?
I am going to admit to a little bit of forgetfulness here. Everybody is required to take biology, right?
Yes, sir.
Everybody is required to take chemistry, right?
I did not believe so.
Did you have a slide on your thing with that?
I did.
Bill? Okay, let me pull it up. Is this it?
No, keep going. All the way towards the bottom. There you go. So depends on their diploma. If the first column on the left is the high school, just Shawnee Heights requirements. So they're required to take biology, and then we ask that they take a half integrated science A, or they could take integrated science B and physics. It's chemistry is required if they're going to do the Kansas Scholars curriculum.
Okay.
So you can see here's the Shawnee Heights diploma requirements, and over here is the Kansas Scholars.
Okay. So generally, at the most basic level, everybody's just required to take biology. Plus, you have to have some more science.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's what I need to know. Thanks.
Is there anything else anyone needs to know before we move on? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Rocky Busitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosie, yes.
Eric Dieter,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Lauren Tice Miller,
Lauren, yes.
Erica Price, yes. Jason Schultz.
Jason, I.
We have a 7-0 vote. Next, we'll move on to consider the March of 2022 band trip. Mr. Reynoso,
Let me get it
Is
up
here?
here. They are wanting to take a trip to Orlando, I believe spring break of next year. The dates, he assured me, will match up with our spring break like we're talking on the calendar. He said this is just a tentative to get them going. They're just needing to your consent to start working on it because they have to start raising the money and getting the plans all lined out and working with the group. The one question I did have from Mr. Reynoso is obviously in this time and day, we need to make sure we can back out of this at some time. What's the policy on this for if we have to back out? Do you know?
Yeah, so the way this works is everybody has $100 deposit that they put in if they're going on the trip. And we start making payments, which is why we're looking for approval now, is because it's going to be somewhere around $1,450 to take that 6 day or 6 nights, 7 day. With the company we used last year, obviously we had to cancel the trip during the pandemic or winter break, which was a lot of kids were disappointed. And I understand that. Our company had the money back in 7 days to us, and then we were able to get it to our patrons within 21 days after receiving that money back. We do lose the deposit of $100 to the company for the work that they do. So that is something that when it's on their contract, it's very clear, and we're actually trying to get some rewording on it so it's even clearer that the $100 deposit is to the company, because they do start making deposits for us. Now, luckily with this company, they actually go up to 90 days where you can get percentages of your money back, quite a bit of it actually, within 90 days of the trip, taking it. But then once you hit 30 days, it's all or nothing after that, to be quite honest. So, I don't know what's going to happen. Obviously when you put on a bus, 6 feet spacing isn't going to happen on a 55 passenger bus, but we've got a plan as if something might happen. I don't know how to explain it any other than that, just because the kids need to look forward to something. We've missed a lot. We didn't have camp, which really has affected, I think, morale in general, because I asked my upperclassmen, how many freshmen out of the 33 freshmen, can you tell me all 33? Which every year I could probably test them and they would tell me all 33. And this year, nobody raised their hand. So when we look towards these things, opportunities, either performing at Universal or at Disney or things like that, I think it's something to look forward to bring them out of, to help maybe bring them out of this. I feel it's valuable and important. We're also looking at you combining with the university level to perform as well at a university and kind of meet some people down there and integrate with students. So something different, because they've canceled the Citrus Bowl parade permanently. So doing the winter break Citrus Bowl Florida thing has changed completely. But as far as looking at deposits, we would lose the $100. I guess I should just stop right there.
The company was fabulous to work with. I will vouch for that. They were very good, and we were all shocked that we were getting back as much as we even did. So they were great.
So, Mr. Reynoso?
Yeah.
So you would have to make a decision by mid-December in order to get everything back but the $100 if you were going to back out this time?
A percentage, it would still be a large percentage of the money back, but once you get to the next level, like 2 months away, then it's kind of based off percentage, like 60% and then 30% as you get closer to the date, because they actually do pay to get the tickets. They'll actually pay for tickets. They'll put the deposits down for the hotel, and they'll do all those things.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other
So
questions?
basically, I recommend approval.
So moved.
Motion by Jason.
Second by Rosa.
All in favor, we'll do a roll call vote. Oh,
Any discussion?
any discussion? Thank you. Going twice, going one. All right, here we go. Rocky Busnitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Rosa, yes.
Eric Teacher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Lauren Tice Miller,
Lauren, yes.
Erica Price, yes. Jason Schulz,
Jason, I.
passes with a 7-0.
Go band.
Yeah,
I know. Don't we all need some hope? And
Man, I really appreciate you guys. You guys, I've been listening into your board meetings, and I cannot imagine the pressure you guys are feeling. But I do know that you have everybody's best interest in mind, and that's really important as a staff member. So just wanted to let you know.
thank you, Mr. Noso. Thanks for being here tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Now you can go home.
Yeah.
I know. What am I doing here, right?
All right. Thank you.
Thank
We'll move on to approve capital outlay purchases.
Okay, what you received was first 3 pages are all the cap outlay we've approved for this year. The sum total was just over 2.5 million, so 2,510,533.21. Below that, you'll see the items that were not approved this year. Many of these are actually going to get purchased in other places, or we wanted them on the list so we could start thinking about future bond needs. And so many of them are on there that way. The one thing that's is a major change to the list this year, and I don't even remember where we put it on there, but the high school met with Stacy Giebler and Stacy Bell, or actually Stacy Bell and myself, and talked about their desire to start transitioning to Apple laptops for the students versus iPads. I asked them to survey their teachers and get good opinions on that, and they did a wonderful job. Came back with lots of good information. And so we have decided to go ahead and start down that road. We're not going to buy any iPads at all this year. So anything that said iPads on it is not being purchased. We're also not going to purchase any computer lab replacements at the high school at this point, with the hopes that we could buy 2 years worth of them this year, maybe 2 years worth of them next year, if that works out. And that would eliminate the need for some of the labs, hopefully all the labs if we can do it, and move kids toward laptops. To purchase them, the only way to make that happen at this point was a lease process. It'd be a 4-year lease. So basically, we took the price of the laptops, divided it by 4. The interest on that is amazingly very, very low. If I remember the number right, we were anticipating approximately 0.6% per year. We haven't got that. I don't know if Blair's got the final bid, but that's what we were looking at when we got the estimate. So I'll open this up to any questions.
Matt, along that line, has there ever been a discussion of perhaps switching from the Apple products to more of a Chromebook due to the significant difference in price?
Ew.
Yeah. There, I promise you, amongst especially IT people, there's a huge difference in product.
I agree, but I'm thinking of the dollar is what I didn't know.
There's a huge difference in price and a huge difference in product, and many schools are going toward the Chromebooks for the price reason. Blair, you're on this call, right? You might give some input about your thoughts on that direction.
They are cheaper, but what a lot of districts are finding is they're having to replace them a significant amount each year. And so the cost of those devices up front, you end up costing yourself a lot in repairs. So I think if you really start talking to a lot of the districts, they'll say that they would rather go with an Apple device or either MacBook or an iPad. So.
Okay, I asked that because I've had over the years people have asked why we've gone to the Apple product. I'm a fan of them. Don't get me wrong, but just look at you've obviously you've answered my question. The fact that you've asked, you've done the research, and you found that this is the best direction for us to continue to go down. So we're good. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Deacher, some of the high school curriculum requires some software that is not super compatible with some of the Chromebooks. It's just not robust enough of a device to hold some of the journalism and some of the drafting software. So currently right now, because we have iPads, we have to have a lab in our business lab. And so having this would alleviate the need for that.
Very good. I just know that, we've gone down this path and I knew it'd be a difficult switch over. But again, the most important thing is that you guys you've had that discussion, you've vented it through the proper folks, and we'll continue with the Apple product. So thank you very much.
Blair, can I ask you a question?
Okay.
Why
Sure.
do you want to change from iPads to laptops?
That was actually a recommendation from the teachers and curriculum. So from an IT perspective, we handle both right now. So it really doesn't make a huge difference to us. It's what's best for teachers and then obviously the students to meet their curriculum needs. So.
Yeah, Jason, the high school did a large survey on that, and specific questions Mr. West could probably help with too, but they presented to us a lot of information from their teachers on pros and cons of both devices and their preferences and what they were hoping to do with them. And as a whole, they were almost unanimous across the board wanting to make the change. We have probably pushed iPads as far as we could at that level. Sometimes they are a little frustrating, I know, for students and staff trying to work with our Canvas was one of the major issues. It's not as simple. There's some glitches at times, and hopefully this will help some of that stuff. But they had a lot of information for us, and Mr. West could answer any specifics if you had any specifics for him.
Well, I know my freshman definitely is in favor of the switch to the laptop. So
would we do the laptops? Would we eventually do laptops 7 through 12, or is this something that go through the whole district?
Right now, we're not anticipating going below high school at this moment. We've always tried as a district to allow our staff and people to have some say and some opinions, and this bubbled up from the high school itself, and so that's where we're at right now.
So, Matt, I have a question.
Sure.
Does this amount of money that we're requesting, is it congruent with previous years for capital outlay?
Sarah, help me on that. How's this compared to the past?
Yeah, we usually request anywhere from $2 million to $3 million. So 2.5 is right in that. And I think we were a little over 3 million last year.
Okay.
So,
I mainly wanted to ask it for anyone who was listening because I wanted them to understand that this was pretty typical.
Yeah, keeping stuff.
Yep, they got to have stuff to do their jobs.
Yep. So a
Okay.
lot of buildings.
Thank you.
And sorry, Lauren, been trying to ask this question for the last 5 minutes, so I'll let you go. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was beginning to think nobody could see me. Yeah, just a couple of questions for Blair. Will the iPads, are we just going to let them age out, or will Apple be buying them back?
We actually have two different options. So we'll reuse the ones that we can for the ones that are getting the laptops, if that is approved. And then if anything is no longer supported, then we will sell those back. And then that money goes back to capital outlay for future purchases. So.
Okay. I actually have a couple more questions.
Nice. Just to give you a little bit on that too, is the reason we only did 2 grades was because I didn't think fiscally it was a good idea to try to do 4 at a time. We could have leased probably 4 at a time if we wanted to, but we always rotate a whole group out. So the senior ones are going to go out anyway. That leaves a pile from the juniors. We need replacements all across the district. So those help just replace everything we've had. So it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, I actually really like this idea of transitioning to laptops. I always cringed at the thought of our students trying to compose an English paper on their iPads. So I'm glad that they'll have full keyboards and full word processing applications, presumably. So that leads me to my question of, will we still be relying on Google Suite for this, or will we be adopting Microsoft Office elements?
The plan is to continue to support both platforms in the district. So we use Google for some things and Microsoft for others. And so no plan to change any of that at this point. So.
Okay. And then with the iPad charging station, will those then become interchangeable with being able to support charging multiple laptops if we need that?
I have not, the ones we just got in, I have not tested those on MacBooks yet. My gut tells me that it won't, because it's just a USB connection. So we will need to look at something for that. But I believe the iPad charging stations are going to be mainly for elementary classrooms.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Yeah, because that was going to, I promised Rocky I only have 2 more questions. Is there any concern switching between, because we'll have some students at the high school who are on laptops and some that are on iPads. Is there any concern with the teachers of having to go back and forth between the different platforms?
From my perspective, I haven't heard of any, but I will let Mr. West or Mrs. Bell speak to that if they wish.
The short answer is yes, but they can get through it for a year as we make. Matt had talked about transitioning that maybe into a 2-year project for fiscal reasons. So yeah, they see challenges, especially in our classes that are mixed classes where we have 9, 10, 11, and 12 all kind of thrown in the same classroom for a lot of our elective courses. So it'll be a bit of a challenge for the 1 year, potentially just 1 year, where they're both present in the classroom, but they're willing to make that work for the long term.
The nice thing is all the teachers are very familiar with how the laptop or the iPads work already. So it's not a new transition for that. The laptop should be easier. So it should be an okay transition, I would think. And
definitely, it definitely will be an okay transition. But
the fact that they're getting them, I think they'd all say thank you.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So my last question was just going to be, would it be worth considering using some of the, I don't even know what it's called now. It's not CARES, but the COVID money.
That's their money, yeah.
To be able to just go ahead and buy for everybody to just transition to laptops in the high school. So then when we start the next school year, everybody's on laptops, everybody's ready to go and start full speed ahead with catching back up and all of that.
We could possibly use some of the ESSER money. I'm a little bit concerned about using the whole chunk for that, just because I want to be responsible with what that money's meant for. The purpose of that money is to help us catch kids up and help mitigate the effects of COVID. And we're going to be doing some of that for several summers and even during the years, trying to catch that up. So yes, we could use some of it, and we may even potentially use some of it because we were going to use a little bit because we've got a bunch of replacement iPads. Let's face it, we broke a lot of devices over the last year, and by the time this summer comes around, we'll have a lot that are broken. But so we may transfer some of that toward this, and then use that money elsewhere. But I don't know if I want to spend all of it on that.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Rocky.
No, you took care of one of my questions there, so thank you. One of my questions was kind of as a follow-up to that is, can we use any of our textbook rental fees that we collect to pay for any devices? Or do we already?
Textbook rental.
We
I'm
use
not sure.
the textbook rental fee that it's a digital and textbook resources. And so we use that for a lot of the licenses that we have, but not the actual device itself. Sarah could correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, you're right. The families do pay for an insurance for those devices. But it is a decision to use the electronics that was made by the school district. And at this point, there's not been a decision made to have parents pay for the device itself. So they provide the insurance for it, and then they pay for the a fee towards the cost of their resources to learn.
We will need to investigate our insurance costs for students. These are a much pricier device than what they have, and we're going to need to make sure we're covered as far as and working with that. So I think Mr. West is going to be looking for some information on that. We just haven't got that far yet.
And then my only last question would be, at the end of the, say, 3 or 4 years, however long the device's lease is there a purchase option that, say, a student could buy the device back? And, it's still 4 years, it's going to be some borderline whether or not it's still usable or not. But I mean, if they needed a low-cost laptop to go off to college, would that be a possibility for them to be able to buy that?
Larry, you said after 4 years, you believe we will just be able to take them, right? Or was there a buyout? I was trying to
There's
remember.
a dollar purchase price for each device from the district standpoint. And then if we decide to keep them longer, then we would own them at that point. Otherwise, we can always trade them in and then use the money that we get from them to purchase the next round. So we have a couple different options after that 4-year lease.
So we got some options there, Rocky. I guess if we wanted to, we could sell them to students. If we wanted to, we could keep them, continue using them, or we can sell them back and get money that way for the next round.
Thank you.
One more question for me. Would it be, you may have touched on this, and if so, I may have missed it. Would it be worth it to go flat out, do the swap outs for next year?
I don't think it's a good fiscal decision, because we've got 4 grades of iPads sitting there right now. And what are we going to do with all those other than sell them back? And that's they're not going to give us the money that we put into them. So in my mind, the better solution is do it in a 2-year phase. You remember when we put in iPads and we put in cases for iPads that had keyboards, we always went from the freshman level up. My decision was to go top down. I want the juniors and seniors, they're getting ready for college. They're the ones that wanted these the most. Let's take care of them next year. And then the next year after that, we can move down. I think that's a doable thing. We're only talking a year slide. And I think it's a better allocation of our money to do it that way, and better use of our current resources.
Plus,
From
you're
an
talking almost 0% interest. So it's
It was like 0.6, wasn't it, Blair? About what we're thinking.
Yeah, they usually have a less than 1% interest rate. So once we get all those final numbers back from Apple, we'll have a better idea. So, and I would say just from an IT perspective, replacing 4 grade levels with Macs would be a huge undertaking this summer because we're going to have a ton of devices that will obviously need to be cleaned and then probably repaired. And then we also have the addition of all the one-to-one at the elementary school that we did this earlier this year. So it's going to be a busy summer. So.
Yeah, and I just wanted to offer that starting with the juniors and seniors allows us to have a little bit more flexibility on our ACT testing. Currently, right now, you can only take the ACT on a computer. You cannot take it on an iPad. So therefore, we are bound by a 1 day for ACT on February 23rd, I think. And then February 24th is 1 day to give the ACT work keys. And so as the state transitions to ask all juniors to take both tests, that's a lot of tests in 2 days. If you take it on a computer, you have a 2-week window. So we can spread those assessments out and give them a better shot at being successful at that. So I also support the recommendation to start at the 11th grade and move up.
And the high school staff is aware that Mr. Hirsch was going to talk about 2 grade levels this year and then bring the other 2 on next year. And understanding that meant there was going to be a 1 year where with the overlap that they were going to have 2 devices potentially in the same classroom. And their response was, "Oh, thank you. We're excited." So they understand that short term it might not be perfect, but it'll be better next year. And a couple of years from now, it'll be super fantastic. So they're well aware of the transition period and fully supportive and appreciative of any potential to get to laptops.
Okay, do any board members need any more information before a motion is made? Ressa?
Sorry, not about laptops.
I thought there was a big list there and we talked about one thing. So
Yeah, what is the doors that you're replacing? I think it was item number 29.
Find it again here.
Replace
Door access controls.
Yeah, in all of the schools, is that?
Yeah, you know that we have our key fobs that open up our doors, and the problem that's happened is there's a software that controls that, and I don't know all the details. Blair might know better than I, but apparently it's not working real well for anybody except for Joe. Joe's the only one that can access and control those doors through the door fob system. If his device went down and didn't work anymore, we would have no more access. Am I correct on that, Blair?
Yeah, so that system was put in 2006, roughly. And while there's been some minor updates, it's, you know, a lot has changed in those 15 years from a tech perspective, and especially a operating system. So our current software is not playing nice with Windows 10. A lot of people are locked out.
So it's old.
It's old. So it is time to replace it. So
at the same time, we're going to add a couple extra doors at the high school that we've been wanting to do for quite a while. There's a door that goes to the debate room hall there that we were going to add access to. They've asked us that probably every year for, I don't know, 10 years. Maybe since we put it in. It's been a long time. And then there's a door in the back, at the very back of the building. We're going to put one in also.
Okay, and then one more question. Line 36, that's sealing parking lots. That's not the middle school parking lot. Did I?
The middle school parking lot's in there.
Okay, I thought so.
Let me see if I can find where it is. Somebody beats me to it. It's a big ticket.
Yeah, I saw that. I just wanted to make sure, because I know that's been brought up numerous times. So I want to make sure that was correct. And I've had it.
Number 58.
58. There it is. Yep, $600,000. It will actually dig down quite a few inches and replace that whole thing and get it going.
Okay.
Did you also want to explain the fire suppression system?
So
Data
currently in
center
our
fire.
data,
Sorry.
no, go ahead.
Nope.
What's there to
So
explain about it? If we have a fire in the data center, goodbye IT.
So when we did our data center expansion project several years ago, I think it's been close to 10 years now, we did not do a fire suppression system. So very limited. If something would, and again, knocking on wood, it doesn't, would catch fire in there, we don't have much of a defense other than a fire extinguisher that's made for electronics, but that would also require somebody to be back there to do that. So we've been asking this for a couple of years, and so it made the list. So hopefully we never have to use it. I know it's a lot of money to purchase that, but as Jason said, there is a lot of money in that room, and a lot depends on technology.
How many dollars worth are we protecting by spending that?
In that room, you're probably right at about 2 to 3 million right now.
That's what I figured.
So,
I figured it was a couple million at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just the equipment. That's not everything that equipment holds.
Yep.
And then just one more question I saw. I can't get to my screen. That's why I have these two computers, but there was one about sinks being removed, I think at Tecumseh South, and cabinets being put up.
Yep.
And I was just curious why the sinks were coming out when we're talking about washing hands and stuff all the time.
The sinks didn't actually work.
Okay.
It was some old cabinetry and stuff that they needed to just clean it out and put nice new cabinets in. I believe it was Tecumseh North.
Tecumseh North, there it is.
Item 65.
Yes.
Yep, there it is. Yeah, they just had some old cabinetry and stuff in there, and I really tried as I went through, and we did cap outlay this year to do some cleaning up in classrooms. You'll see quite a few cabinets and cubbies and different things. I felt that was pretty important to get some of those rooms up to speed. They've been waiting a while.
Okay.
Erica, I have another question.
Sure.
And this is on an item that's on the not right now list. We had listed on here is replace board sound system.
Yeah.
What would that entail?
Blair would have to answer that, and potentially we can use some ESSER money for that if we want to. But Blair, what are you thinking on that one?
The current sound system is original from when I started in this position. So I'd like to get a mixer that works with all the mics that are needed, especially, we've expanded the PD room. We're now in the auditorium. So I'd like to get a system that integrates with both of those systems and then supports all the mics that are needed for each meeting. And then hopefully allow that to have better sound quality as we broadcast these meetings to our patrons. So as you can tell right now, we've really got the system dialed in good in the auditorium after a lot of tweaking. But the PD room struggles a little bit, and it's just because of how that system is set up. So that was why we requested it this year. And then that would also include obviously buying some new mics, and probably look at going wireless with those if possible to eliminate the cords and just make everything look a little bit more professional.
Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up question is what could we do to be able to replace this system sooner rather than later? I know one of the silver linings of this year has been that it kind of forced us to move so that we could broadcast our meetings. And I think it's been very well received and been very helpful for our community to be able to follow. So I know when we're in the PD room, we have a lot of problems with audio. So if if we can make that happen sooner than later, that would be great.
Yeah, it's potentially one of the things we can look at with ESSER money, because that's one of the reasons we've been forced to do a better job with that is due to COVID. And so we will look at that as an option.
Okay, great. Erica, if you need a motion, I'd make a motion to approve Blair's wish list. I mean, the capital outlay list.
I sometimes call it
Second, wholeheartedly.
That's funny. Motion by Lauren, second by Jason. Discussion. Any more discussion?
I'd say that actually Joe gave him a run for the money on this one.
Yeah, I'd say so.
We have some
All right.
spirited discussions, I'll tell you that much.
All right, we'll move on to roll call. Rocky Business.
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos.
Rosa, yes.
Eric Deecher.
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen.
Renee, yes.
Lauren Tice Miller.
Lauren, yes.
Erica Price is a yes. Jason Scholes.
Enthusiastically, wholeheartedly, definitely yes.
All right, we've got a 7-0. Good job, team. We're going to move on to status of the district, and we will start with Mr. Hirsch.
You know, I got to tell you, I was getting ready to write down some stuff for status, and I was worn out this afternoon. So I just figured all my principals will take care of me, and I took a nap. So I'm going to turn it over to whoever's next. So you guys hear enough?
Sure. You get a pass. Mr. Dial.
Hello. I want to touch briefly on the vaccine updates, but also keep in mind that in 2 weeks it could be different. So in the Shawnee County Zoom on Wednesday, they talked about switching to the Pfizer vaccine for schools. So all the Shawnee County educators will be getting the Pfizer vaccine. One detail that I guess is helpful is that it's only 21 days between the two doses compared to 28. So it knocks down the being totally vaccinated from 42 days to about 35. So that little piece is good news. Initially, we thought we'd be starting the process here in a few days or a week, but they said be at least a month away. So we're looking at best the 1st of March. And then if you do the math, 35 days after that, you're looking at April before it starts kicking in. And that is if we can start at the 1st of March. We have a little over 60% of our staff willing to do it. So we offered it to staff, substitute teachers, and so forth, and offered it up to almost 700 people. And we currently are about 433. But that doesn't include, we have some substitute teachers that can already get it because of age or other factors. So they're not on our list. So it may be a little bit higher than that. Any questions about the vaccine process? All right, that's it for me.
All right, Dr. O'Brien.
Okay, sorry about that. We've just been working on several financial reports for Medicaid and for the state, and I want to thank Karen Schulte for working with me on that. She's been hit hard from a lot of different directions on the financial side lately, and she just is a huge help there. Couldn't do these reports without her, so I appreciate her doing that. We will be interviewing for a couple potential or anticipated openings that we might have for next year. We're going to be doing that on Wednesday at the elementary level. We also will have a gifted position open at the middle school that I know Mr. Urick is on top of that, and we'll be interviewing for that here soon. Also, I ran some quick numbers after Rocky's question about our students with IEPs and those that are attending 4 days a week. And if we take our pre-K through second graders and have all of them on site 4 days a week, and then we look at the number of students that are on site 4 days a week because they met the criteria set by the buildings and the principals, we will have between 75 and 80% of our elementary students with IEPs on site 4 days a week. So we're making progress there. You have any questions for me?
No, thank you for getting that information so fast. Really appreciate it.
Not a problem. Thanks.
We'll move on to Mr. Anderson.
Thank you for approving Blair's list. On a serious note, I think we all need to be proud of everything we've accomplished over the years, especially when it comes to capital outlay. That used to be a humongous list, and it's really starting to dwindle down a little bit each year. So I think everybody should be proud for the work that we're doing on that. So, questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hofstra.
I too would like to echo Blair's thanks for the approval of the capital outlay list. We're going to have to hit the ground running tomorrow morning. We've got some large ticket items that we're going to have to prepare bid documents on and get those out, and so that we can lock up some contractors, get the work done this summer. On a positive note, I received a call today from our architects here in Topeka. They've got a branch in Kansas City. That branch is working with a school district who want to build an auditorium, and they've asked to come out and tour our auditorium second week in February. So that's kind of cool that they're coming over to take a look at it. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Giebler.
Hello. I've been working on a self-assessment audit for our federal programs. So I appreciate our Title I principals helping us with that, and helping out Sarah with one of her audits as well. So I guess it's audit season in the district office. As you know, the dyslexia requirements are going to require us to have a little bit different procedure when it comes to screening students for dyslexia, possible dyslexia issues. Our current MAP test does not really satisfy all of our needs as far as our district or as far as the dyslexia screener. So we are working with the Dyslexia Screener Review Committee to really take a look at our needs, take a look at the requirements, and then also look at some products that might satisfy those needs. And then right now we're working on plans for summer school, and I'll be bringing those to you sometime in the future, but just trying to get some possible scenarios hammered out so we can let people know what our plans are for the summer. Any of you have any questions? Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Bell?
Well, I first just wanted to give a shout out. Mrs. Avery Ayers-Berries was just notified this weekend that she has received the Distinguished Modern Classroom Educator certification. And her next steps is she will have the opportunity to be a teacher mentor all over the United States. So it's so cool to have Shawnee Heights represented by Mrs. Ayers-Berries. And there's other potential teachers that could possibly be getting that honor as well. So we're really excited about that. And also our high school, I have great news there too. 12 of our juniors and seniors, so I think it's 6 and 6, are ready to take the animal systems pathway assessment. And so they would be taking this in March and April sometime here. And upon completion and passage of that, they will actually be certified in that pathway. And so we have not had that yet. And so that is exciting for our students. It just gives them an extra little leg up in the community when they go out to interview for jobs or apply for scholarships and move on to that pathway of their choice in their careers. And then we are wrapping up audit stuff too, ELL stuff, our English as second language learners. We have that audit. And I also just wrapped up the documentation for our remote learning assurances audit as well for the State Department. Any other questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hoyer?
I'm working on audits too, and I just want to give a great big thank you to several people throughout the district, Jafan in transportation and all of the school um, bookkeepers and some of the data administrators in each one of the buildings are working on gathering a lot of information for the state audit that we have to provide every year. And I add about 9 or 10 reports to that audit. And then our financial audit, those auditors will be reporting to you at our next meeting. They've finally gotten everything that they need from the circular they were waiting on. And so they will be, Karen Lynn will be reporting on the 15th. The other big thing we're working on right now is trying to fully implement electronic purchasing so that we won't be using paper purchase orders anymore. That's a big undertaking because we've got lots of paper everywhere. Right now, Blair and Mr. Urick at the middle school have been working with us to kind of help us fine tune the process for how we will train other departments. And so they've been great participants, and we're just getting our legs under us for that process, as well as simultaneously working on adding matrices to our payroll system. We currently have a matrix that we use for payroll for certified staff. And we've got several kind of all over the place, but not an electronic one for classified staff. So we've combined them, and we are have created one for them, and we're bringing them in one group at a time. So I'd like to thank Darsa. She's put in a lot of work on electronic purchasing, and Elaine is getting started this week or next week on that stuff. So, yep, that's about it for us. Any questions for me? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Bervert.
Good evening. I will be quick. Just a couple celebrations and a couple shout outs. First, just want to share that we had a donor who very much wants to remain anonymous, who donated just some funds to help pay off past food service debts and just past debts that families have left behind. And we are just so appreciative and just honored by this person's generosity. So I just want that person to know that we appreciate that. This person just felt moved to donate to Berryton Elementary School, and we are just so thankful. Second celebration is just that we still had our Key Awards via virtual format that went out to parents this last weekend, and just excited that we could still do that, although albeit different. We're excited to have assembly someday, but we're still glad we got to honor kids who earned those 8 keys. Just a couple shout outs. First to Miss Joy Baker. She really helps us really make sure that Kansas Day is a really big event at Berryton, provides teachers with just lots of different ideas for literature, plans games for students, artwork, you name it. And she does it all just because she wants to make a difference and just do something fun. She always provides breakfast for the staff, and it's really nice. So big shout out to Miss Baker for that. And then the last shout out, even though the other elementaries haven't been hit quite like Shez, just when staff have been out for routine colds or things that are not even COVID related, we've really just had a lot of staff step in and that kind of that last line of everyone's contract and other things as asked by your supervisor. They've done that with joy in their heart, and no one has grumbled, and everyone's taken a lunch duty here or there, and just had a really good attitude about that. So I just am so appreciative and thankful for all of our Berryton staff's willingness just to kind of step in with a smile on their face. Any questions for me or for anything about Berryton? All right, thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Bivens.
All right, good evening. My oldest daughter just got home, so my anxiety level has gone down a little bit because I'm not going to have screaming children in the background, I hope. I was worried that I was going to get on and talk it earlier when you called on me. They were like having a moment, and I was like, oh gosh, please just be quiet, but we're all good now. Anyway, things are rocking and rolling at Tecumseh North. Like Ms. Bervert said, really, we're all chipping in and doing what needs to be done. We are doing our best last week to support Shez, and a shout out definitely needs to go to Mrs. Hummer. She handled her staffing shortage with grace and with dignity to her staff, and she just did a really excellent job with all of that. It was a very stressful week last week, but especially for Ms. Hummer. Other than that, we also did our key awards last week for the month of January. We focused on the key of commitment, like one of our parents talked about tonight when he was speaking. This week, we are having a Chief Spirit Week. Tomorrow is Team Tuesday, where we wear red or yellow or your favorite player's jersey. So just supporting our Chiefs. And we're moving into the month of February, and we'll be excited to bring our pre-K through second grade students back on the 15th. All right, any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hill.
Hi, at Tecumseh South, things are doing well. Today we started our second book, the One School, One Book. It was The Escape from Mr. Limoncello's Library. The first one went off with great success this fall, so we thought we'd do another one. We also have Chiefs Week going on this week. I welcomed the students off of bus duty this morning with the Mahomes hair and sent them all off with that. So that we'll have different things all week long. We too will be getting ready for Valentine's parties, but we may change them instead of doing two. Some of those younger grade levels might just do one on their first day back. We'll see. And then we will be getting ready for our first ever virtual spelling bee. And I think all of us elementaries are doing a virtual spelling bee coming up soon. We're also finishing up with our winter math assessments, and we're just going to get ready to welcome back all of our little kiddos on the 15th. Any questions that I can answer? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hummer?
It's been a rough couple of weeks at Shez. And so I just want to keep you all in the loop. At our highest, we had 18 staff absent out of 64 who generally provide direct daily services to students. So that's 28%. And it was not sustainable for us to remain in person. Those absences were due to COVID positive cases, to quarantines because people were awaiting results, close contacts, and other just illnesses. But to be clear, the dedication of our district and building staff was never a question in my mind. We had in-building staff supporting new rooms and in different capacities. We had staff from other buildings, including elementary principals, central office staff, even employees and staff members from other buildings just coming to Shez to keep our Tier 1 services and supports happening for kids. We had staff who could not physically be present in the building, yet they were wanting to work remotely to continue to provide services and instructional supports for kids. Yet ultimately, the best learning environment for our students was to move into remote learning. So Friday, we had a traditional remote day, much like our Wednesdays, for students and staff to vacate the premises. And I want to send a huge thank you to our buildings and grounds crew who came over to assist with getting our building ready and sanitized in order for staff and students to come back using the Clorox 360 machine and just intensive cleaning happening. Today and tomorrow, our students are attending digital class meetings, as well as teacher providing live instruction online. So we're looking forward to students and staff returning in person in hybrid groups B and D on Thursday and Friday. But I also want to say a huge thank you to our staff and our students and our families and even childcare providers for all of your flexibility, one of our 8 keys of excellence, and for supporting us during this difficult time. Continued appreciation for Tiffany Kench as she helped us communicate in so many accessible platforms to our families to keep communication open. To keep you informed, we have SHES currently has 79 students who are on that track D, attending 4 days per person. As we examine student needs and we recognize students meeting that criteria, that's roughly 19% of our building. So at most grade levels, we're at the highest that we can be to keep those social distancing protocols. So just know that we're trying to, again, get our at-risk kiddos and as many as we can back in the classroom. In other news, teacher evaluation season is in full effect. We have 19 certified staff at SHES on evaluation this year. So don't worry, I won't let you down. We keep it moving there. But our SHES PTO is also planning a virtual staycation for spring break. And that will be complete with family fun packs, as well as a link to student performances as part of our annual SHES talent show. So it's exciting to continue to celebrate our students and all of their talents. And I, again, am so thankful to have such a supportive PTO. So questions or clarifications for me?
Thank you. Mr. Urick.
Good evening, board members. It's also evaluation season at the middle school, and so Mr. Mickens and I are conducting lesson observations and writing teacher evaluations. It's an opportunity to have a positive conversation about teaching and learning. We also ask the teachers what professional learning they might need or resources they might need to be successful. Mrs. Hummer, you should get yourself an assistant principal so you can split the load. I recommend it. So there was a question from a board member about what we're going to do for band and orchestra concerts, and I thought I'd take a moment to address that. I met with Mr. Kyle and Mr. Wingerson. Those are our orchestra and band instructors, and we discussed options for orchestra and band concerts. They both agreed it would be ideal to have both cohort A and cohort B students play together along with remote students, but it's not possible under current crowd size limitations. So our instructors are planning for during the school day concerts. They'll do those on the stage or in the gymnasium during the month of February. Those will be recorded in the normal way, and then the links emailed out to parents. And that's not a new thing. We've done that for years. And so parents will be able to see the progress of their band and orchestra students. And Mr. Kyle, Mr. Wingerson will communicate with their parents directly. As soon as we can have more boots on the ground in any one academic space, then we could do a together concert during the evening in some socially distanced way. And we would plan for that later in the spring as the pandemic eases up and perhaps crowd size restrictions lift. So the middle school owns the transition process from 6th to 9th grade, and the counselors and I have been partnering with our 6th and 9th grade collaborators and other stakeholders to transition the students. And just during this time, I sort of want to reassure the board and our patrons that we have conversations about individual students. So Mrs. Robinette and I met with all the 6th grade teachers last week, and we discussed the team making spreadsheets and the transition spreadsheets that we use. Our 6th grade teachers will think about each student's needs and put them on a team based on their academic and behavior progress. There's a separate meeting for students with IEPs where 6th grade case managers meet with 7th grade case managers, and they place students in 7th grade classes. Students with 504 plans and ELO plans, it's a one-to-one handoff from teacher to teacher. So we start the year with a good knowledge of what the learning needs are of those students, and they're in the correct classes. We do the same thing in our transition from 7th to 8th. It's easier because we own everybody. And then from 8th to 9th, Mr. West has already met with our 8th grade teachers and explained how to select 9th grade classes, those core classes for the students, and how to pre-slug students into special support classes, programs such as AVID and JAG. We recognize that many of our students are just not going to be in the school for any of these transition activities. So our counselors are making appointments to push enrollment and transition information to our fully remote students. And we've also created a digital course catalog where every elective teacher in the middle school made a short 60 to 90-second preview of their elective courses. So you'll be able to have a kitchen table conversation with your 6th to 7th grade student or 7th to 8th grade student and look at some of the elective courses and make some course choices in an informed way. And a quick update on the middle school. We're in hybrid mode, of course, with approximately 10% of our learners attending fully online. Today, there were 117 students, at-risk students with IEPs, who are attending school 4 days. That represents 19.6 of the school's total population. And I just want the board to know that we are operating the building as efficiently as possible. We're at maximum capacity and still being able to maintain 6 feet of social distance in our learning spaces. So we are at efficiency there. As a reminder, our 2 interventions are called 4-day school and library study hall. In 4-day school, students attend all of their classes. They rotate through their class schedule 4 days. And in library study hall, those learners have more of ability to learn independently. So on their remote days, they report to the Shawnee Heights Middle School Library, where they follow a schedule and they're supervised by our at-risk aide, Janet Boyd. And then lastly, we're off to a strong start for our 3rd quarter and 2nd semester. Grades are up and that's nice. I sincerely appreciate the efforts of our teachers and our parents and our school workers who are providing high quality content and consistent service delivery to our students. Our goal has always been to have a learning model which was COVID resilient, where students could learn from anywhere and teachers can teach from anywhere. We had opens this last week and it didn't really occur to me until last week, but we have a lot of teachers and paraprofessionals and school workers who have taught on under significant illness, personal illness, and an illness in their home, caring for their loved ones, and they've continued to provide service, and that's just so nice. The online product is very good. The videos are getting better all the time. The guided notes are getting better all the time. The teachers' learning progressions, their unit outlines are getting better all the time. I know that hybrid and remote learning is a forced choice brought on by COVID, the pandemic, but the product is good. The table is set and kids and families are taking advantage. But I just didn't want us to forget that, our teachers are doing 3 jobs. So they teach the fully remote students, the in-building students, and the hybrid remote students. And, at the beginning of the year, that was unthinkable, but they're doing it and they're doing it quite well. And then lastly, I'd like to thank our parents and grandparents, just to echo off what Ms. Hummer said, our siblings, our extended family members for supporting and loving middle school students. I get it. It's not an easy thing to do, but I really appreciate everything you're doing to help middle school kids be successful. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, please ask board members.
All right, thank you. Mr. West.
Hey, thank you very much. First, I want to give some recognition to our Scholars Bowl. They just completed today, actually, the regional tournament and took 2nd place, which qualifies them for state. So they'll be competing in the state championships for Class 5A in DeSoto next week. So that's an exciting accomplishment. Like most activities, they've had some challenges. They've had to overcome some adversity, showed some resiliency, as long with some good academic preparation and practice. So Donna Devers, the sponsor, and congratulations to her and the group. Just a little bit of academic data. As Tim mentioned, we've completed 1 semester and we've started another one. This is the start of week 3. You've heard me say through most of the month of October and November that we were about 250 students or so that were on the academic warning list, which is, as you've heard a few times, it's about 25% or so of our freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. That's not the case anymore. We finished strong. Our teachers have worked hard all semester. Our kids have responded, and really, as normal, the end of the semester was where we pull our best numbers, and that was the case again this time. At this exact moment, we would have 166 students on the academic warning list overall, not grades 9 through 12, which is right around 15% of our overall student body. That should continue to drop some as some of our students have the opportunity to still finish credit for first semester. At the end of every semester, our teachers have the opportunity to comment on whether or not the students who have failed to earn credit should be given an extended semester and have the opportunity to complete credits based on the work and the competencies that they have demonstrated, or if they should retake the class. And at the end of this semester, our teachers invited 129 students in 163 different classes to do just that, to go ahead and extend their semester and push on and again try to earn credit for some of those classes. We've had 29 classes finished already out of those 163, and typically we have about half of the classes for which students have the opportunity to still earn credit ends up happening that way. So if that's the case again, our AWL list should finish probably around 155, maybe 160 students, which really is within arm's reach of a normal school year. Because you guys have gave our seniors the opportunity to reduce their schedules beyond the 5 that we asked for and was approved a few years ago, we were able to reduce some of our sections of classes second semester and instead introduce some additional credit recovery or some additional study hall classes. So we've begun the process of academic repair for those students who did not demonstrate enough consistency over the period of first semester to earn credit in some classes and need to retake the classes from the beginning. We're also, like Mr. Urick had mentioned in his school, we're also bringing in kids for a 3rd and 4th day earlier. Last year, we didn't start that process until November, which was about the 10th week of school. And if you remember, after a couple of weeks, we went fully remote after Thanksgiving. So those students at the high school really only had about 2 weeks prior to the winter break and about 2 weeks after winter break to have that 3rd and 4th day. We had some students come in today to start a 3rd and 4th day already. So we're starting that initiative a bit earlier. And again, like the middle school, we're going to try to fill our school up to capacity while recognizing capacity being defined as maintaining social distancing in the classrooms and in the lunchroom. So again, that's been a positive response, and we'll continue doing that as well. And finally, I guess not finally, one more academic piece, a little bit on numbers again too. The grade distribution at a high school level is maybe different than what most people might think. By far, the most common grade that our students earn in high school is the grade of A. And the next most common is a grade of B. The next most common is the grade of C, followed by a D, and F is the least frequent, which is what we would hope for, grade that was earned. And indeed, that was the case this semester as well. 40% of the grades that our students earned, right around 8,000 different letter grades given to our students, 40% of those grades were A. Our students earned A's. To put that into perspective, last year was a fairly typical first semester. It was 44%. So again, just within a stone's throw of what a normal year is. That 4% gap between the 40 and 44%, which are both really nice numbers. We're blessed to have good students, good teachers, and a great learning community. That 4% was about that was the biggest gap. As you look at the number of B's, C's, D's, and F's, that 4% represented about the largest gap. It didn't blow up at any one particular level. So our kids did well. They did well. They worked hard. They responded well. They finished strong. Really pleased with them. Of course, our teachers, have you heard all of our other administrators say, their teachers just worked so diligently. We talked about grace, patience, and flexibility were kind of our 3 themes for our staff. And of course, we asked our students to show a lot of resiliency and communicate. And again, they stepped to the plate and did that. And we just far exceeded my expectations for the end of the semester, just based on what we were seeing for November and December. So our kids were phenomenal. They were amazing, and they really responded to what our teachers had prepared for them. So just thrilled with that. Wanted to share that news with you, and I really do hope you feel good about what happened at the high school in terms of the academic performance of our students. And like Mr. Urich had mentioned too, I also had a conversation with our orchestra and band folks. They are planning some sort of a virtual concert in March. And I know the band for sure is planning on maybe an outdoor concert in February. Orchestra is also knocking around some idea, or in May, I'm sorry, an outdoor concert in May. So a virtual concert in March and maybe an outdoor concert in May. I know our orchestra, band, and vocal are still planning on participating in the State Music Festival, which will be virtual this year. That happens in April. That's difficult to do because, again, our state music contest, they have high expectations for the experts that come in and judge them, and having hybrid groups will add some challenges, but our folks will rise to the occasion and they'll find ways to make that happen, again, in an appropriate manner. I'm not 100% sure in terms of what vocal has in terms of other concerts throughout the year planned. I did not get a chance to visit with Mr. Duell on that specific subject, but I know that our folks are trying to get creative, kind of knowing where we're at in terms of the possibilities for the remainder of the year and finding ways to be able to showcase the talents of our students to the greater community. I think that's it. I tried to pare down my comments on the fly here. So any questions about anything?
Thank you for clarifying the concert, outdoor band concert in February.
Yeah, February outdoor concert.
Visions of people having frozen lips on tubas and
definitely not this weekend either. Looking at the forecast, we would avoid that. But yes, thank you.
All right, and Ms. Kinch.
Yeah, so if parents, staff, community, and even some of the upperclassmen haven't received a message from me or the district in general, then something's wrong in the last couple of weeks. So make sure that your contact information is, updated and for the district so that we can get those messages out to you. We put out a lot of messages here lately and throughout this whole year, really, but seems like the last couple of weeks we've had a little bit more. Other than that, I've been working on the website. I update those a couple times a year. I update those. I go through and I comb through and update them. I'm updating them all year around, but a couple times a year, I actually spend some time and go through page by page, make sure that we're not missing anything. And I'm preparing for the foundation breakfast that will be at March 26th. So any questions for me?
Hey, Tiffany.
Yep.
Along the lines of the website, one of the public comments tonight, there was a suggestion of answering questions from public comments. Would it be possible, and I think we may have discussed this back in the communications task force when we were doing the whole back to school plan, could we add a section on the website of frequently asked questions? I mean, if anything, provide a link to meeting minutes if they need to show where the board took action on something, or just, brief answers to the frequently asked questions or the recurring questions that keep happening.
Yeah, we have a section on the website now for frequently asked questions as far as COVID related, but we can definitely expand that and add anything else that you guys think are coming up. Let me know about those questions that you feel are, repetitive and need to be on there. I definitely can add those.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I think that was everybody. Did I miss anyone? I think I've gotten everybody. All right, we will move on to questions and comments from board members. I'm going to go down the list for efficiency purposes and start with Rocky.
Mr. Hirsch, I know as we're looking at that calendar, it got me thinking about the 21-22 year, and I think we're all in agreement that we want our kids in school 5 days a week all year next year. And so as you guys are looking and making plans for next year, are you planning worst case scenario, or are you having those conversations to if for whatever reason things spike or a virus mutates and it's not, we don't have an effective vaccine anymore, and we're still under orders to restrict things. Are you guys having those conversations and discussions and trying to make contingency plans?
I think that's why you're hiring a new superintendent, right? Just kidding. Yes, we will be talking about all those things. We have not started addressing next year yet. We're still wallowing in this one right now, but yes, we will be working on that. We don't want to have this repeat itself, and we'll be looking at ideas that we can do to help improve upon in many ways what we did this year.
Thank you.
All right, Rosa.
No, I just want to say thank you to teachers and staff and administrators for everything that you're doing. I know it's been really difficult. And Mrs. Hummer, my heart goes out to you and your staff. So thank you very much. And no, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, Eric.
Repeating what Rosa said, thank you to our staff and building administrators. And like I said, it's very helpful having that data that you shared with us and making that earlier decision. Also, I'd like to thank the parents that really sent us some very positive messages the last couple of weeks. That was very nice to hear from you, and we do appreciate all those things. And even from staff, sharing their, both sides. We heard from both of them, but hearing the positive was very, very nice to hear. But and Matt, again, you continue to do an outstanding job in the role as the interim superintendent, and can't thank you enough for all that you have done and gathering the information that we need to make these decisions, these tough decisions. So thank you for continuing on and doing the job that you're doing. Do appreciate it. So, and Becky Hummer, to you and your staff, we sure have been thinking about you guys a lot, and I know it's been tough, really tough for you, but thank you for all that you've done in the communication piece of it. I think you've done an outstanding job together with Tiffany. You guys have been a great team on getting the information out to parents in a very timely manner, and that makes a big difference. So they know what to expect and what is in their near future. So thank you guys for everything. And lastly, I just say, to Jennifer Hill, with what you had to deal with, the loss of one of your staff members and the job that you did and getting them through that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Renee.
Echoing what everyone else said, but also just every time we get together for this meeting, I'm just so impressed by how professional and intelligent and caring and energetic towards your job during this difficult time all of you are. And we as a community just couldn't do it without you, and we just appreciate that, both you and all of your staff that you have working with you. So thank you.
Lauren?
And I would also echo the thanks that everybody has given. But the one thing that I wanted to address is that, or maybe even clarify is the better word, is that whenever we come to these meetings, I give a lot of thought, and I know everybody else does, a lot of thought to all elements that go into the learning scenario discussions. I don't just think about the teachers. I don't just think about staff. I think about all of the families out there, all of the students who are, home alone during the days, the students who grades may be slipping because they had a family member pass away and they're learning to deal with the grief, or the students who are helping care for their younger siblings. There are a number of situations in our community that I factor in when thinking of that. And so I think there was a comment, or maybe it was in one of the emails, a question, when will we start thinking about what's best for the kids? And my answer is every single day, every time we show up to a meeting, I'm thinking about what is best for the kids. And I know that's the same with all of our administrators and all of our teachers and all of our staff. That's why we're here. And so along those same lines, I would continue to implore our community. The only way we are going to be able to get our kids back into our buildings full time is if we are all in this together and we are all continuing to follow the mitigation strategies. Just because restaurants are open doesn't mean you have to eat inside them. There's takeout options. Just because stores are open doesn't mean you have to go shopping inside of them. There are curbside options available. Please be thinking about the impact on the entire community when choosing what to do, because we can't get through this without all of us together.
Thank you. Jason?
I'm passing tonight. I don't think there's any more that can be said that I can bring up that hadn't already been covered and touched on. So we've got another decision under our belts. Just keep on pressing on.
Thank you, Jason. I just had a couple things. Same thing. Thank you to everybody, our community, our staff, our parents, our students. Like, this has been, it's just been more difficult than I think any of us have ever thought we could, we were gonna, this is the most difficult thing we've ever probably had to tackle in a really long time. And I'm proud to be a part of this community, and we can do hard things, and we're going to continue to work hard. I know, especially as a board and trying to make these decisions, our staff, students, and parents. So again, thank you to everybody. Also, I wanted just to mention, when public comments are made, first of all, Eric, I think you mentioned it, that I think all of us appreciate kindness in the emails and the communications. Your voices are heard with less anxiety when it's worded in a kind way, and we greatly appreciate that. And we want to continue to hear from as many people as possible. I also wanted to, I said I was going to do a better job of being transparent with the emails that we're receiving. I'm not going to divulge who sent what, any of that, or what was the exact content, but I did receive, and any board member can, if I'm wrong, let me know. Up until meeting time, I had 39 emails. 23 of them had expressed staying in hybrid, and I had 16 that had expressed an all-in type school scenario. So I wanted to do a better job of expressing the emails that we were getting. And also, just to everyone, staff, parents, students, if you have good news you want to share, don't ever hesitate to bring that to public comment also. We need hope, we need good news, and we always look forward to that. So I think that is all that I had for tonight. So thank you everyone for attending and watching. Hang in there. Hopefully there's light at the end of this tunnel soon. So with that, before we move into executive session, does anyone need to stand up, take 5? We'll come right back. Okay, Tiffany, do you mind if we do that for 5 minutes? Okay. Go. All right, thank you, everybody. We'll be back at 9:58. That sound all right?
Yeah, and then we'll make a motion to go into executive.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right.
Hey, Rocky, can I ask you a question?
What's up?
So you and Lauren, I think both have, and now I see Matt does, like when you go off and you stop your video, how do you attach a picture so that someone could see something there? Is there?
Yeah, you have to go to settings on Zoom and
Okay,
there's
so I find it in settings. There's probably a YouTube on it.
yeah, I don't know. I have Zoom through my work, and so that's what I'm using right now. And
Okay.
you have a profile or settings, and in there you update it there.
Okay. I just knew since you've done it that you might know. Okay, thanks.
Mr. Hirsch, are you hanging in there okay? Doing all right?
Those principals about killed me. They talked a long time, but we're still live, Tiffany. Okay. I'm doing fine. I'm a little tired. I think my eyes are getting droopy.
I was thinking the same thing about mine. I'm like, oh.
I've got my wife bringing me up a tea, so she's gonna help me out.
She's gonna leave it outside your door.
Guys, it's past my bedtime.
It was past my bedtime an hour ago.
Yeah, and it takes me at least a half an hour to wind down.
I'm starving, guys. I'm so hungry.
I know we've had a lot of these late nights. I know.
Not your fault. I'm like,
I
oh
know,
my gosh,
but
I was stuffing my face in that 5 minutes like as fast as I could.
We're just being human right now.
Just remember, we're still live, everybody.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Do we have
USD
everybody back?
USD 450, the gag reel.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think we're all back. So I'm going to move that we go into executive session. I move that we go into executive session to discuss personnel pursuant to non-elected personnel exception under Kansas Open Meetings Act. The open meeting will resume the board meeting at, let's do 10 minutes. So 10:10.
Second.
Oh, motion by Erica, second by Renee, roll call vote. I lost my note. I should know everyone's name by now. Rocky Busnitz,
Rocky, yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
You're on mute.
You said yes.
Did.
Lips moved.
Rosa,
Eric,
yes.
Eric Deecher,
Eric, yes.
Renee Hansen,
Renee, yes.
Erica Price, yes. Jason Schultz.
Jason, I.
All right, 7-0.
Lauren's a yes.
Oh my gosh! Oh my god! So sorry. I even have it. I don't even have an excuse. I'm sorry. Lauren Tice Miller.
That's right. Lauren's yes.
All right, 7-0. We will go into executive session.
You
Okay.
didn't want me, right? You guys
No.
just on your own?
Yeah.
Okay, but don't put me in there, please, Tiffany.
Okay, just board members?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Okay.
Thank you, Laura.
Matt, your machine is not muted.
Said I wasn't muted?
I took care of you.
She's getting my tea from my wife.
Okay, I think we're all back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are we all back? Well, I can count. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, we're all here.
Yeah, we're all here.
Okay. We're gonna go. I move that we go back into executive session to discuss personnel pursuant to non-elected personnel under the Kansas Open Meetings Act, and the open meeting will resume in the board meeting at. Let's do. Rocky, what do you think? 10 minutes? Think we'll need longer?
You're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, I think we started at 10 minutes. If we need to go back in, we go back in.
All right, we'll be back out at 10:21.
Second.
So moved. Roll call vote. I'm sorry. Rocky Busenitz.
Rocky, yes.
Just raise our hand.
Sarah, can you see us all?
Except
Aye.
for Jason.
And Jason says aye. That's a 7-0 vote. Okay.
Erica, did you want me out again or in?
I don't know. Can I?
I'll stay out unless you want me.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, we're gonna need a quick motion to extend for 10 more minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Lauren,
Second.
second by Jason, all in favor. show-
Actually, you made the motion. It needs to be seconded by somebody else.
Second by Lauren
I
then.
said I need a motion.
You make a motion. You make a motion
I
to
make
go
the
in
motion
executive.
that we extend 10 more minutes.
So moved.
Second by Lauren, motion by Erica.
No.
Show of hands.
Oh,
I'm working on it.
Yeah. You're good.
yeah.
Jason?
Aye.
All right, 7-0. We'll be right back. And we'll be back at 10:35.
Did she put us into that room?
Yeah,
Coming.
she's coming. I
Okay,
have 10 more minutes and I'll be done.
gracias.
You going to bed? All right.
You guys are still here. What the heck?
I know, right? Okay, so before we adjourn, I just want to publicly say that we are still in the negotiations process for the superintendent position, and we anticipate action within the next few days. There will be no further information as this is a personnel matter at this time. So I just wanted to get that out there. I need a motion. Am I forgetting anything else other than a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Lauren, second by everyone. We'll say Jason. Show of hands. And Jason,
Aye.
I have a 7-0.